Watch live on YouTube, search Jocks945. I had the privilege of speaking to the Gulf Shores Touchdown Quarterback Club yesterday. I should know that. I don't. They got a couple folks, couple listeners there. And Greg, I had an interesting question at the end before I made the drive home. And it was about all the things that are happening in college football recently, all the things that are happening in the offseason that have been happening for the last year or two. And I thought he brought up a pretty good point. And he said, the thing is, the reason that people are interested in all that, because I was a little frustrated. I said, I didn't want to feel like I talked about teams. I don't feel like I broke down a bunch of rosters. I don't feel like we talked about, any schemes, any coaches' philosophies, anything like that. And he said, yeah, but nobody understands a lot of the stuff going on. So they all have questions about it. Nobody knows where we're going. Nobody knows what it's going to be. Nobody knows what it looks like. I thought it was a good point because there's so much extra going on. Did we spend enough time talking about football this year? I know you and I did. Maybe you and I even didn't.
No, because a lot of the people covering football don't really know football.
But
that's where things have changed.
I also came across an interesting read on ESPN Plus. The 100 best college football games of the 2024 season. Now, 100 games in one season to actually grade, break down, and rank kind of feels like a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a heavy lift. So props to Bill Connolly for putting this together. Well, I would have to really sit down and go back and say, all right, let's think about sort of where we are here. But could you even come up with what you thought were the top 5, top 3, because a lot of it is going to be your best game, the game that you were on, because you're not able to watch a lot of the games. Same right. For me. I don't see a lot of the games unfold the way that a lot of fans do. So our list would probably be very different. But would you even have a guess as to what was the number one game for Bill Connolly of the 2024 college football season?
Georgia Tech.
That was a great one. And you were on the call for that one, right?
No, I was not.
You didn't do that one this year.
That was Joe Tess.
That game also announced that we'll be on Black Friday again this year.
Ayo.
Okay.
Good, bad, and different. We like that.
That's where it was when I was there. It feels right.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
All right.
I like having a decent game on Black Friday. And they're not moving Iron Bowl. They're not moving Michigan, Ohio State. And they're not moving Texas A&M. So if I were them, I'd take that spot too. I feel like for me, the answer would be pretty easy. And sometimes, just to peel back the curtain a little bit, when you call a game, you don't really, you're so ingrained in it. You almost, I don't want to say you don't know what happened, but you don't feel it and absorb it and see it the way that a lot of other people would. Yeah.
So after some thought of, okay, what games did I see? What games did I do? What games did I know? I might be in agreement with Bill Connolly on the number one game of the season. And that was October the 5th, Vanderbilt 40, Alabama 35. I think some people would say there wasn't a lot of offense, wasn't super exciting.
I'd say it was never that close.
But it got kind of close later. I would have probably guessed his number 2 game before his number 1 game. And this is also what I think has happened. I don't think a lot of us have sat back and thought about this. And I didn't think about this until this weekend. I did my top 10 players returning to college football on my podcast this weekend. And I was like, there are some players out there people are forgetting about. And I think the main player that people have forgotten about was a big part of Bill Connolly's number 2 game of the college football season. And that was Alabama 41, Georgia 34. How many people are talking about Ryan Williams right now?
Nobody.
Zero. But he was obviously massive that day and going to be one of the best players returning this year in college football. He has the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Texas 39, Arizona State 31, number 3. Notre Dame, Penn State, a game that you and I were both at number 4, 27-24 is a heck of a game. Anytime you get a game that both teams look dead for a period of time, and it goes back and forth, that's going to be a good one. He does have your guess. Georgia Tech, 8 overtimes, 44-42, November 29th is number 5. Number 6, Miami, Cal. We forgot about that one.
Golly, that was a brutal game.
I mean, it was over at what, 2 a.m.?
Yeah, that was the latest I stayed up all year for sure. 100%.
Great finish, though.
Great finish.
Basically, you could take half Miami's games.
Very dramatic.
Because number 7, Miami, Virginia Tech, another dramatic finish.
Was that a Friday or a Thursday?
The Virginia Tech game, I think, was a Friday game.
Was it a Friday?
The
Because
Miami Cal game was Saturday because game day was there.
I knew that. I knew that. But I, for whatever reason, thought it was a Thursday, but no, it was definitely a Friday, I think, because I think it was, because I was at Oxford when that game happened. I believe they were playing Kentucky. I can't remember. Anyways,
that sounds about right. About that time of year.
Yeah, it's about that time of year. 27th. We can look that up.
Number 8.
Yeah, Friday.
Colorado Baylor. That was the Shedeur Sanders Hail Mary to LaJohntay Webster to tie the game. Went to overtime. Number 9, Arizona State BYU. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't really recall a lot from that game.
Arizona State BYU?
Correct.
Oh, it was a fantastic game. Basically, Arizona State had the lead and almost blew it. And they tried to basically take the game and drop back and like lose a bunch of yardage and kneel on it, but they ended up leaving like 1 second left on the clock, which allowed BYU a chance at a Hail Mary.
Oh, the old Damon Duval.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Run around and run clock doesn't work for you. Backfires.
Yes.
Number 10, BYU, Oklahoma State. That was a good one. Number 11, BYU, Utah. So basically, just
BYU, Oklahoma State was a midweek game too. That was a Friday.
Yep. October 18th. Illinois, Purdue, number 12, 50-49 in overtime. Probably wouldn't have been one of my first go-tos. Number 13, Oregon, Ohio State, the first time, October the 12th, 32-31. Number 14, Auburn makes the list.
Hey, there we go.
And take a guess which game?
They had a lot of good games.
Not if you asked Auburn fans.
Well, there are a lot of
close games,
dramatic games.
Yeah. Dramatic
the Oklahoma
finishes. 43-41, 4 overtimes. Auburn over Texas A&M is number 14.
Yeah.
Clemson, SMU, number 15. Syracuse, Miami.
Y'all beat A&M?
I didn't, but Auburn did. Yeah. I didn't have a hand in it. Georgia Tech, Miami, number 17. Michigan, Ohio State, number 18. Illinois, Rutgers, Northern Illinois, Notre Dame round out the top 20. So
the funny thing is, like, some of these games, like Michigan, Ohio State, if that game were 38-35, it would have been with the same result where Michigan wins. That game would have been ranked number 1. But because it was 13-10, it's number 18. I
immediately thought when I saw it there, I'm surprised that game even made it because of that. Because so many people see the score and the total yards and they say, that's boring. And I'm the exact opposite. I think it can make a great game just because there's not a lot of yards.
Just because it was a comedy of errors doesn't mean it wasn't highly entertaining. I do not remember. The first one I don't really remember of all of these is number 19. And that's Illinois Rutgers. I don't know how. I didn't even know. When did they play?
That was November 23rd.
That one just snuck by me.
There's a couple other things going on around that time. Illinois about to attempt a 58-yard field goal into the wind late in a 31-31 time. Piscataway, Shiano called a timeout, giving Bielema a chance to second-guess himself. It worked out pretty well. And I guess Illinois converted, got a touchdown. I hadn't seen the tape on that one.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. That's the first game I didn't recognize.
Yeah, that was on NBC. I didn't see it. John, did you see that one?
Howard Stern on the call?
I think so.
I think Pig Vomit was actually producing.
Wow.
We've got Booger McFarland after our first break. We have Andy Burcham at 8 a.m. Joseph Kaufman covers Ohio State. Apparently they ran at a deficit this year, and some people are surprised. It's pretty much every college program. But also Ohio State has a new defensive coordinator, so is looking for a new defensive coordinator. We'll talk to Joseph about that, as the national champions have a pretty high-profile coach to replace in their facility. And then Kennington Lloyd-Smith checks in at 9, talks some Alabama, coaching staff update, roster update, his thoughts heading into the season. Where should they be ranked? How should they be viewed as we kind of begin to look ahead to 2025 with the Crimson Tide at 9 o'clock. Always taking your calls, 800-239-9569. Text in 205-834-9450. You can be a part of the show there. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. A lot to get to. But to circle back on my original point there, I thought it was a great point by Dr. McCullough last night that yes, it was the longest football season ever. You were the first person that I heard say that and actually brought that up, and that's why he referenced it. And then with everything else that's happening, it makes for great fodder in the offseason, great talk in the offseason. But, man, it makes us forget a lot of football. Like, there's a lot of football that we are not talking about, did not talk about, did not focus on, and plain and simple just did not see because there were more games.
Yeah.
It's hard to see all the games. It's hard to know all the games. It's hard to know where all the players are going. So while there are some benefits and there are some positives, it also does take away a little bit from what we would normally discuss and talk about.
Well, the regular season just feels like so long ago. The postseason's so long now that it's like we don't even think about. We don't even talk about the regular season, which is just fine. It's just got a little bit more like the NBA and the NHL.
Don't you dare.
It is. I mean, it's becoming more and more about that. How often do you reference regular season basketball games from last year?
NBA or college?
College, either
NBA,
one.
NBA, I could give you the top 100 regular season games right now.
I knew it.
Magic Wizards.
How many involved the Pittsburgh Pirates?
December 8th.
I mean, we don't talk about them that much, but we talk about a lot of postseason because the postseason's long. And it takes up.
Especially hockey. Hockey, you forget the postseason even. It's so long.
Yeah. I mean, it just takes up a lot of bandwidth. Not a negative, just purely an observation. I like the postseason format the way it is, but I also really like the regular season. So it's kind of fun like this to have it situated like this so that you can have some reflection. Because there were a lot of great moments in the season this year. I mean, who would have remembered when number 16 Oklahoma State knocked off Arkansas in dramatic fashion? Number 16 Oklahoma State.
I mean, that game was incredible.
Bonkers.
Who did Arkansas have the next week? Because they had another good game the next week after that.
UAB?
I know the Arkansas UAB game, I think, was a couple weeks later.
I think it was
that was
UAB.
a good game. By the way, Coach Dilfer been working Gulf Shores High School, threw out 3 offers to their kids down there yesterday. I would give you the names, but I can't recall. Sorry. I was trying to see where that Arkansas State, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, 2 overtimes, September 7th. That was number 26 on the list. The SEC championship game was 27. That was a really good football game, by the way.
Yeah. There were so many good football games.
Illinois, South Carolina, Cheez-It Bowl, 21. USC, Texas A&M, SRS Distribution, Las Vegas Bowl, 23. I still say this is the best bowl season I've ever seen. Not even including the playoff.
No question. The bowl season, as far as competitive games, nothing better. It was outrageous the whole season. From start to finish. I mean, it was amazing. So good. The only games that weren't competitive were the playoff games, it felt like.
Florida 24, Ole Miss 17, number 32. Totally forgot about that one. I remember how it happened. I think a lot of people would look at that one too and say, oh, not a lot of offense. South Carolina, Missouri, 34-30. South Carolina, Clemson, 17-14. Alabama, South Carolina. Those are 34, 35, 36, by the way. And South Carolina also at 37 for the LSU game. Just put South Carolina's schedule in here for the top 100. There's a lot of stuff that it goes kind of by the wayside because now we start talking about, are they going to change the playoff and what players are going where? And there's a lot of the season and a lot of the actual play and players that deserve some focus. Maybe we need to go through the entire list tomorrow and just break down each game. How many of these can you get done?
That'd actually be kind of fun. That'd be like a fun project for us. Like go back, watch that game, and then we do a
start at 1 or 100. Game of the week. Oh, how fast they go. Which one do you want to start with?
How many weeks do we have between now and
football season? Probably 4.
You really do have about 8 weeks.
Number 100.
I don't want to talk about
October 12th, Rice UTSA. You can grind the tape on that one tonight?
Big Roadrunner guy. So, yeah, I'll probably just call into Rice's old coach.
Okay.
For the record, it's 30 weeks to week 0.
30?
Yeah.
That's an eternity.
How many weeks till week 1 of UFL?
8.
Feels like it, yeah.
Yes.
We can get that in. We can get 100 games in by then. We can do it every day.
100 UFL games? 80.
You think we can get 80 in before it starts?
There's 83 AFL games or UFL games.
Number 99, Yukon Temple, 29-20. Grind the tape on that one.
Probably not going to watch that one.
Number 98, Texas Tech, Abilene Christian, 52-51.
Probably not going to watch that one. No. Probably gonna
So we
skip
should
that
start
one.
at 1.
UFL starts 2
How
months
is
from today.
94 Iowa State, Miami in the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
Because honestly, people turned it off when we saw a big, bald, strong,
Well, you didn't see a
sketchy
single play then.
sketchy man
Not a single
in a
play did you
Pop-Tart
see.
costume
None of them.
doing an interview with Matt Campbell.
Then you saw all the plays then, if that was the case. 'Cause we did not talk pregame.
Wow.
We did talk once in game. He did in the third quarter.
I wanted to talk to Mario. He does O-line.
No, we had no coaches interview pregame.
I saw a guy.
We saved those for the important games.
You interviewed a Pop-Tart.
Interview, that's a stretch.
Do you have that costume still?
I cannot answer that until after 8:00 a.m.
Why?
That's when school starts.
Oh,
I'll tell you in the break.
fair enough.
We'll start at 1. Because I know you want to go back and watch Bama Vandy.
No.
This is your game.
That game should not have
This
been
is
number
your
1.
game you wanted to play.
That would not have been number
Go
1.
through the
That
blame Bill Connolly. Then.
That
Don't
should
blame
not
me.
have been number 1. That was a dumb game. It wasn't even close.
I'll see if Bill can come on the show tomorrow.
Sounds good. Why is that number 1? Not a close game. It was a backdoor cover.
2 of the best games in the season happened in an 8-day span. Worked out very, very differently for Alabama. First, Crimson Tide won the marquee game of the season. Then they suffered the upset of the season. The first full crowd Bama-Georgia game in Tuscaloosa since 2007. Home crowd witnessed just about the best single half any team played all season, thanks in 2 parts to Jalen Milroe. Blah, 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 blah. He didn't even mention, he has a paragraph on the 2. Oh. The best moment to date of the post-Saban era in Tuscaloosa, quickly followed by the worst. Vanderbilt followed the upset script right, as underdog ever has. Offense scored touchdowns on 2 early drives before stalling out for a bit. Defense contributed a pick 6, perfectly deflected ball. Special teams contributed a 51-yard field goal from Brock Taylor. Commodores led 23-7.
23-7, not close.
There you go.
Proving my point. What I think is hilarious is it's low-hanging fruit. Vandy over Bama is a bigger upset than Michigan over Ohio State. It was in Columbus.
I believe we just saw that the prior year, though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And the one before that and before that.
In Columbus with the 130th ranked passing offense, up against the best roster in the sport by a mile, the ultimate national champion, team that went on to win the whole thing. And now you're saying that a 7-6 Vandy team beating Bama post big win at home is a bigger upset than.
Yeah. I think I know what you're saying.
You know exactly what I'm saying. To me, it feels like anti-Bama hate, and I ain't got time for it.
Bill Connolly hates Alabama.
Yep.
It's simple.
Put that in your pitch to have them come on tomorrow.
What we don't hate.
It'll work coming from Cole.
What we don't hate is Crocker Moving Services.
No, we absolutely love Crocker Moving Services. They're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. Whether you need your whole home packed to move, company headquarters moved across the country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
Quickly before we go to break and welcome in Booger McFarland to talk Super Bowl on the other side. Louis DeArmond tweets into the show at Mac and Cube. Is that Cole Cubelic going to spend 10 weeks in San Antonio for UFL again?
Yes.
See, Louis, why'd you have to do that?
He has a timeshare.
Why? I felt like the morning was going well. I felt like we were on a good track here.
Cole gets direct flights to his destinations this year. Detroit. Detroit.
Back with Booger McFarland next. Tuesday, January 28th, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We will shift gears from college football, top 100 games of the college football season, talk NFL, Super Bowl with Booger McFarland in just a moment. You should probably be shifting gears to Valentine's Day, though. And where do they need to go, Greg, when you're thinking about a Valentine's Day gift for your significant other?
Well, you already know it's Bromberg's. Bromberg's is the best. They'll take great care of you. I know you guys will have a similar experience to one I've had. I've been there many, many times and have always had a terrific experience. And Valentine's Day is right around the corner. You actually receive a free bouquet of fresh flowers if you go and get a Vitri hibiscus glass vase. If you purchase it on 13th and 14th, you will get that free bouquet, which is terrific. So that Vitri is beautiful. These are blown glass in Italy. Really beautiful design, elegant fluted design inspired by the hibiscus flower. So go and grab them. They have a ton of different sizes for you, and prices begin around $69. So go and get that right now. You'll love that Vitri beautiful vase that you can get if you go to Bromberg's. Just mark your calendar, just a couple weeks away. Valentine's Day is approaching and approaching quickly. Go and check out Bromberg's in one of their 2 locations in Mountain Village and the Summit.
All right, let's go to Booger McFarland on the Buyers Right Hotline. Boog, you cover college football as well. It's a kind of a tough choice. You got to put a lot of thought into it, but I'm going to ask you on the spot. Would Alabama-Vanderbilt be your number 1 game of the 2024 college football season?
Number 1 game? No. I mean, it was a good game. I think that just off the top of my head, I mean, the South Carolina Clemson game was unreal. Yeah, I mean, Alabama Vanderbilt was really good. I think Vanderbilt's story with Diego Pavia and what they did and what Clark Lee has done at their program is amazing. I also think we overvalued Alabama a little bit and kind of undervalued the significance that Nick Saban will be gone. And so I think that adds a little bit of intrigue to that game. But, yeah, good win for Vandy, but I wouldn't put it up there. It's probably top 25, but it's not number 1.
Yeah. All right, as we turn the page towards the Super Bowl and these 2 teams that arrived, I'm interested because you've played in them, you've been there, and you've been with guys that have been in a lot and some guys that have not. How big of an advantage is the experience gap just based on Patrick Mahomes and what he's been able to do, and then along with his teammates that have been there with him?
Well, the experience is a lot for everything that's going on in and around the game. Like once the game kicks off, and as they say, toe meets leather, like it's just football. But everything in and around the game is so different. You get a week off. That's different than a normal game unless you have a bye week. All the hoopla, media night, so many different things going on, so many ticket requests, so many celebrities are going to be in attendance in New Orleans. You're going to be in the city for a week. Like it's so much going on in and around the game that's different. Typically, you know, most football games, we don't start hyping up until Friday because, you know, everybody's got stuff going on during the week. And once the weekend gets closer, now we start looking at the calendar and figure out, okay, who's playing Sunday? And let's get into it. We can tailgate and all those different things. But the Super Bowl is literally a celebration from about Wednesday of game week all the way through the game. And I think that's different. And if you don't know how to handle that, because there's going to be something at your leisure every night. You know, typically if you're home, hey, you know, I'm not going out on a Wednesday night. I'm not going to go hang out, but they got parties Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like all the way through. And so you just got to know how to handle all the things that come with the game.
How do you, I mean, I know they're not going to give guys curfews and stuff like that, but like, surely you're not going to be out burning it to the ground unless you're Dennis Rodman. A couple days before the biggest game of your life, right? Like, am I crazy here?
Or Barrett Robbins.
Yeah, I mean, Barrett went to Tijuana. I guess he wanted to hang out. The way I would tell guys is this, and in my experience in 2 Super Bowls, this is what we did. You can enjoy the atmosphere without being in it. And here's what I mean by that, is that you get your work in and you do all your stuff. And at nighttime, you kind of treat it normal. At nighttime, everybody's got to eat dinner. And so we would always go to dinner in the cities that we played. So we played one in, one was in Miami, one was in San Diego. And so we would go to dinner in the cities at a nice restaurant, a group of us, 4, 5, or 6 or whatever, have a nice dinner. And so you may go to a popular restaurant where you're recognized. You may go somewhere where people see you. You may go somewhere where there are a lot of people. But again, you're just eating dinner, having a little camaraderie. And those are the things that you do on a given night anyway. And so, we did that on Thursday night, because typically Thursday night, once the hay's in the barn, the entire defense will go out to dinner, or the D-line will go out to dinner. And I'm sure you had most people who are married or dating a significant other, you have a date night in there somewhere. And so you try to keep the routine normal, especially if you're going to have those people in town. And that worked well for me both times, the ability to kind of enjoy and see the atmosphere, because you're going to, like, everybody wants to have the experience. Like, what good does it do to go and just kind of put blinders on? So you really want to see it, but you just don't want to be involved in it where you're hanging out or you go to Tijuana like a Barrett Robbins.
Booger McFarland joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline talking Super Bowl. One aspect of this game I know you can appreciate that I was actually surprised with was the lack of protection the last couple of weeks in the postseason. Now, Philadelphia, a little bit more understandable last week. You got to move Landon Dickerson down to center. You had some injuries, so guys are out of position. Kansas City, you could say one of the main reasons they won the game was what Mahomes did with his legs, but you don't really want him on the move that much, even though he has a way to create and find plays down the field. Is there a massive advantage one way or the other with either pass rush or either team's ability to maybe find better protection in this matchup?
I think that's what this game is going to be wanted. Like, this is going to be a game that is going to be about the line of scrimmage. Because if you think about it, can Kansas City's defense, led by Steve Spagnuolo, who's one of the better defensive coordinators in our sport, can he figure out a way to not leave A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith one-on-one while at the same time stopping Saquon Barkley? That's a tough challenge. And on top of that, he's got to deal with the best offensive line in football in Philadelphia, especially if Landon Dickerson, Greg's, college compadre from Alabama, can figure out a way to be healthy in that game. Like, this offensive line is outstanding. But I think on the flip side, if you're Kansas City, you say, can the offensive line of Kansas City block the defensive line of Philadelphia? Like, so to me, whichever one of these matchups is won and won convincingly is going to go a long way to determine who wins this game. I don't think this game is going to be as much about the quarterbacks as most Super Bowls are, because I think both lines of scrimmage, both teams are kind of built on the line of scrimmage. If you just look at the rosters, like, let's just take roster for roster, Philadelphia's got the better roster. I would say that Kansas City's got the better head coach quarterback combination. But when you go 1 through 53, it's clearly Philadelphia's got the better roster. But I don't think anybody's going to bet against Patrick Mahomes. But Cole, this is going to be my game and your game. Like, this game is going to be won and determined up front by Jalen Carter and Chris Jones and the offensive line, Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and Joe Tooney. Like, these guys are going to determine who wins the Super Bowl.
What do you make of the defensive coordinator matchup? Because Spags is obviously universally respected. Going against the offensive brain trust, I guess Sirianni kind of headlines it, but I mean, it's obviously a collaboration. Like, to me, it feels like a pretty heavy advantage in favor of Kansas City, but you would know more than I do. How do you think the coaching matchup's going to work out?
I think it's phenomenal, because I think in one matchup you have Vic Fangio, who has taken the Philadelphia defense from at the bottom to near the top, going up against Andy Reid. And so you got two guys that have seen every formation, every defense ever known to man. And so now it comes down to a chess match between those two. Like, those two are going to be playing chess. And so that matchup to me is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And then you flip it over, and now you got boy wonder, Kellen Moore, who interviewed in person last night for the head coaching job with the Saints, by the way. Hopefully he's done some game planning while he's interviewing, but that's a different story. He was in New Orleans last night. You got Kellen Moore against Steve Spagnuolo. And I think most people would say that matchup is going to favor Steve. And so, like, we got a couple matchups. You got the young and the old. You got two grizzly old veterans. I think oftentimes, Greg, less is more. Like, when you get in big games, most times teams, coordinators, they stay up all night trying to uncover that one stone that hadn't been unturned. and they kind of box themselves into a corner. When we played in both Super Bowls, we went into the game with less. Defensively, we had probably 5 defenses. Had 2 blitzes, couple base calls, maybe a zone pressure, but we played because we wanted to play fast. Now, I don't know if Vic or Steve or any of these guys are going to do that, but I think the bigger the game, the more you want to free your players up. The bigger the game, the more you want to allow your players to play and not think so much. And I think these head coaches and these coordinators are probably going to subscribe to that formula.
Bug, I love how you just laid out game plan right there and how it was a little bit less, a little more. Sometimes I think we overanalyze or we discuss things in a way that they don't really happen. Let's just take a hypothetical and Saquon Barkley. It's easy to say, well, you got to dedicate more bodies and try to take him away. You played against some great running backs in your day. How much can you really do sacrificing other things, number one? And how much can you really dedicate to one guy, knowing the advantages, specifically with what this team has on the perimeter, that you're going to be able to do to Philadelphia to try to just limit what Saquon's capable of?
So it's one of those things, Cole, that stopping the run is simple math. If I have 7 blockers from an offensive standpoint, defensively, you need 8 guys dedicated to the run, because if everybody blocks their guy, who's going to make the tackle? So it's just simple math. You have to have an extra guy. But what happens if you take that extra guy and put him in the run? Now you're playing essentially one-on-one on the outside. And even if you dedicate an extra guy, and Greg knows this, there's a term called MDM. You can block the most dangerous man. So in other words, you can always leave a guy unblocked, just run away from him. So even if I have 8 guys dedicated to stopping and you have 7 blockers, I can run away from the 8th guy if I recognize where the 8th guy is. So it's a chess game, understanding how you're going to get to it. I think ultimately there is no secret, man. It's bone on bone. You got to line up and put people. Today's run game has been kind of dwindled down to it's inside, outside zone. It's a little bit of duo. It's maybe a little bit of pin and pull. So you're not getting the backside cutoffs. And to me, that makes playing the run a lot easier for guys on the interior. But ultimately, you got to line up and just whoop people, man. Like, there's no secret formula. If I'm a shade and you're a center and you try to reach me, I got to beat you. Like, if I'm a 5 technique and you know the left tackle pulls and the wide receiver tries to crack on me, I can't let a wide receiver crack me the way that Dante Fowler did for the Washington Commanders on the first play that Saquon Barkley took 60. So at some point, you got to beat people and beat blocks. And I think that's where you can kind of get into a little bit of a quandary if you start trying to say, okay, I'm going to dedicate X to stopping this guy. Now, what you have to do is you have to call a fundamentally sound defense, and you have to have players that can honestly just win and beat and do their job.
Finally, Boog, right now, do you have a lean in one direction or the other?
I would say this, and I said it a little earlier. Philadelphia's got the better roster, the better team. But you'd be hard-pressed to find people to bet against Mahomes. I think this is a matchup because of 2 reasons. I think Philly's defense is really good. And if you go back to the last time that Mahomes lost in the Super Bowl, it was to Tampa. And what happened? The Buccaneers literally had Mahomes running for his life. I think Jalen Carter, Noah Smith, those guys, they do the same, especially if Tooney's going to play tackle. That means you got, I think the guy's name is Caliendo at guard. I think Jalen Carter will beat the hell out of Caliendo. I think Jordan Davis is going to be a mismatch. And so I think the Philly D line is going to be too much. But if they're not, then I think there's some plays to be made on the back end. Darius Slay, Cooper DeJean, good players. I don't think they're great on the back end. So if you force me to pick today with some of the money that you guys are getting from the jewelry store, which you guys had to shout out earlier, I would lean toward Philadelphia right now. By the way, having read a ton of those ad reads in my radio days, how many times have we visited the store and kind of walked in and they've given you that nice little friendly discount on a nice timepiece or a nice pair of earrings for the wife? Are we taking advantage of that at all?
No discount. We speak from the heart.
No discount?
No discount. Speak from the heart.
Okay. Yeah.
You can't discount a Vietri hibiscus glass vase. Those are imported from Italy.
What is that?
Do you even want a discount?
You don't even want to know.
What, are those roses?
It's something you put roses in. Yes, correct. Vase.
It's a vase?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought hibiscus was like a tea or something.
No, I think hibiscus is like
you
a flower.
Just read it. You don't know what it is?
Greg read it. I didn't read it. That's his customer. Bromberg's is great though.
Yeah, Bromberg's is great, Bug. Some your money would spend there. You'd like it.
I hear you. I love it.
Bug, we appreciate the time, man. Thanks for hopping on. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll catch up soon.
Anytime. You guys, we got to do like a remote broadcast somewhere. I'll come to Birmingham. We can go play golf and do like a little remote broadcast. Maybe we can get some sponsors and get some actual ad reads that we all know what we're reading.
We'll do that.
We can do that. We can arrange.
Bug in town for a day. Who wants to sponsor it?
About to say Regions. The Regions golf tournament's May 14th.
Yeah.
You played in that before.
I love.
We'll get some ribs. We'll get an in-person Peloton duel, and you guys can go play golf.
Deal.
Wow. Okay.
I'll ride in the cart. And
all right, boys.
Thanks, Bug.
See you, buddy.
We'll see you. Booger McFarland
Later.
joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline, talking Super Bowl. We'll continue that conversation next on Mac and Cube in the morning. $7:42 right here, Tuesday on Jock 94.5. That one's probably not going to work. Hold on a second. Got it.
What's up?
I was trying to get the Instagram story going. What were we talking about, Greg? Super Bowl?
We were talking about Super Bowl with Booger McFarland.
Do you agree with him this is going to be a line of scrimmage game? Not many people will describe it that way. Most people are going to spend their time talking quarterbacks, Saquon, Kelsey, Taylor Swift. And that's about it.
If you've watched Kansas City this year, they have very much morphed into a line of scrimmage team, a dink and dunk team. And that's kind of been what.
You say that with such vitriol, dink and dunk. You did this yesterday.
It's boring.
Is it effective?
Yeah, but it's boring.
Does it work?
It's still boring. I don't know what to tell you.
They win doing it?
No, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the most gifted quarterback in the world. Like, I would like for him to display that on occasion, as opposed to doing half rolls and loop passes and, quick screens off tight end. Like, yeah, it works. And there's some like variation in eye candy. And I enjoy the creativity from time to time, but it's not always creative. Like last week it was. Last week was the first time Kansas City's been consumable and enjoyable to watch in quite some time. It's not negative. It's just the reality. Like they're not the same team as far as excitement is concerned. You watch them back in the Tyreek Hill days. You watch them back a couple Super Bowls ago. Like they were like the greatest show on turf.
But they don't have that guy right now. Xavier Worthy, the closest they have to it. I mean, you're not going to put that much on a rookie.
That's fine. And I'm not saying they don't have that guy. I'm not saying they need that guy. I'm not saying any of that stuff. They're clearly winning. All I'm saying is it's not as consumable as it once was. Well, I think Philly's far more exciting than Kansas City. And Philly 2 years ago was kind of what Kansas City is now.
You say not very consumable.
Yeah.
Unlike the products at your CBD store, broad spectrum mango CBG gummies that deliver an uplifting effect and a great start to your day. Full spectrum blueberry CBN gummies for a great restful night's sleep. Skincare, gut health, arthritis, anxiety for you or your pet. Your CBD store wants your day to be better. Largest brick and mortar CBD retailer in the world. Great people. Understand the products. Going to give you a good idea of how they can help you, what they can do for you, and they can help just about every day part that you're going to experience. Weight loss, the Trim by SunMed on the shelves now at your CBD store. First company to have USDA certified organic oil supplements. They've got the stamp seal on those products. Visit one of their 3 locations. Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cage in Cleaver, Trussville just off 459. Coming up next, top 3. John, what do you have on tap today?
Today actually is International Plan Your Vacation Day, so it has something to do with that. To find out, stay tuned. We'll hit you in 3 minutes.
All right.
Not 2.5. Not 3.5. 3 on the button?
3.
Well, 3:15.
3:15.
I was rounding down.
Hey.
Top 3 next, Mac and Cube in the morning. Tuesday, January 28th, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:49. Top three comes to you at this time each and every day. Going to begin to rotate the top three a little bit because other people want turns. Before we get to our top three, your number one flooring store in Birmingham is Shannara Flooring. Greg, tell people why.
It really is because Fu and his team have done an amazing job of making sure they become the very best in the city when it comes to replacing your floors. Finding a flooring company that you can trust is not easy. So one that you can feel good about can be even more difficult. Will they show up on time? Will they respect your home? Will they do the job the right way with the proper details in mind? At Shannara Flooring, they understand those concerns, and you can put your mind at ease knowing that Fu, the owner, is going to build his team on a foundation of trust and integrity. Whether it's replacing old carpet or upgrading a hardwood, you can rely on Fu and his team at Shannara Flooring. So when it's time for new flooring, ask yourself, call who? Call Fu. Call him direct at 205-518-6423 and see all the new styles for 2025 at ShannaraFlooring.com.
All right, John, top three for today. Top three vacation destination.
Well, I could sit here and tell you that today is National Blueberry Pancake Day, International Lego Day, or
100% down with blueberry
Succeed
pancakes,
Day.
by the way.
I could play something off of Joey Fat One's birthday, or
Joey
excuse me,
Fatone?
it's spelled Fat One.
Like the NSYNC guy?
I guess, yeah. Looking at his face, I couldn't tell.
Okay.
But
Got
yes, also today is National Plan for Vacation Day. So I wanted to ask you, what were your top three vacation destinations that you've been to?
One, Croatia.
Oh, I'm from there.
Two, Jamaica.
Oh, I've been there.
And literally, that's the question.
Three. Oh man, I am boring when it comes to vacations.
Golly. We went to the amphitheater down in Oak Mountain.
When have I ever mentioned going
I don't
to
know.
any amphitheater on this show at any point in time?
Not a one.
I was at
Mary,
Gulf
a
Shores
one.
yesterday.
Other than a Pink Floyd light show that I was taken to at like 8 by my neighbor's mom and was ruined for years because of all the guys passed out, and I was wondering what happened to them. Number 3, vacation. I can't say Gulf of America. Like, where's another vacation I've been on? Like, so I got to go. So there's got to be something better than that I've done. I'm
say
going to
amphitheater,
go
but
Lake
Greg ruined it.
Tahoe, number 3.
Oh, God.
I know. It's such a
boy, here
gross
comes-
place. Such a gross place.
Ugh.
Let's go, Mr. Worldwide.
Crystal clear
Yeah.
lake, beautiful snow skiing slopes that with a bad back you can't get on.
Yeah, out in California. You can have it.
Yeah.
Number 1, Greece. Any of
This
them.
guy's making fun of my
Doesn't
Right.
matter.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, on to Katumko.
Blaine and Antoine loved it.
Okay, well. Santorini
Here we go.
is definitely the go-to
Fine.
spot.
Okay.
100%.
Definitely.
Big Bang, take a little bank. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Pack up
Oops.
the family and head there later today.
Yeah. You can go. Crocker Movie Church will get you there.
You can go ahead and do it if you want.
No,
I already
I
did it. Never mind.
I think Greece is my favorite place I've ever been. It's tough. It's a tough call. 2 would be Italy. But my favorite part of Italy is kind of up in the air. We've been to a couple.
The uppity part, you mean?
No. I mean, I've never been to like
Mm-hmm.
up in Torino
The
area.
ghetto of Italy. You've never been there.
Like Turin. No, I've never been to the
streets.
Amalfi Coast.
No.
The mean streets.
The slums of Italy.
But
Never
just
made
the
it to that
small-
part.
The small, like
El Slum.
The hood, correct.
small sections
Yes,
in
right.
like the middle of Italy.
Yeah.
Cortona's where we stayed, but kind of around that area is.
Yeah, they call it the projects, is where you haven't been.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also
Low
known
rent,
as
high
Tu-
rise, y'all.
Some people call it the projects, other people call it Tuscany. It's somewhere, kind of right in
Okay,
between.
there we go.
that.
Yeah,
it's
somewhere in
in that
between.
in that vicinity.
Del Boca Vista, yeah.
And then my third favorite place I've
Rio
ever
de
been.
Janeiro.
The third favorite place I've ever been was Paris.
Yes, of course.
Paris
For
is
fashion week or non-fashion week?
no non-fashion week.
Ah,
Paris is
got
my
it.
favorite city in Europe by a mile. Now it's a city, but you just need to understand that when you go there, you're going to do city things. But it's pretty awesome.
Describe
clean.
city things
Go to like museums and stuff.
as opposed to country things.
Yeah, like country things. Like if you go to Tuscany, it's like
Beat
country.
up the people that go to museums.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you go to Tuscany, you hunt and fish.
Yes,
Got it.
correct.
That makes sense.
Bale hay.
Right?
Yeah,
How much time on the tractor you spend in Tuscany?
enough.
Got it. John?
Number 3 for me is Grand Turk
Charles.
Island on Turks and Caicos. Probably the most
Lafayette.
beautiful place.
Is it Cake House?
That's what I call it. I
I've
don't
been
know
calling
if
it
it is or
Turks and Caicos forever. I didn't know. I'm not being facetious. I really didn't know.
Not to be confused with Cake House.
not. Correct, right. She's mighty, letting it all hang out. Yeah. Number 2 is Alaska. Just took it last year, but that is
Ooh,
a
Alaska's
beautiful
cool.
place up there. Yes.
Yeah.
And
You've
it was,
been there?
Cruise.
Same here. Yeah.
My uncle took me when I was
Wow.
first year I got out of college.
I didn't know
They had
y'all
a-
were 71.
They had an extra spot, and I said, you know what, I'll go.
Says the
Ended
guy
up
that went to
being awesome.
Tuscany. Okay. All right.
Does your room come with like? No, I'm not even gonna say that.
Okay.
No.
Saw the glacier.
It was beautiful, man. But number 1 with the bullet is Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Yeah.
We all know
Nice.
why.
No,
Sicko.
had zero reason for that. Went there
Yeah.
in high school with the high school
There's
band and my
multiple
parents.
things I could have said there, by the way. You pointed out one. So
All-
that means the
all
others,
of which-
That means the others were in play.
Okay. All of which, no, we're not in play and did not desire. No thanks. Pass. I'm there for the culture, not
Right.
the.
So red
you
light
know.
district, yes. The
Nope.
gummies, no. Got
Correct.
it. Noted.
Nope.
There's a
None of
fine
that.
line.
Noted.
Brad,
None
I didn't
of
have
that.
I didn't have gummies. I had brownies. Please.
All right,
Oh,
Damien.
man.
Damien?
Dang. Feel bad. Like I've never been out the country.
You're
so
20.
Clinton, number one.
Good
No,
peaches.
it's fine. No, number 3.
That, by the way, could qualify for a top 3 worst song ever, by the way.
Lump is worse.
Okay. Go ahead, Damien. Sorry.
Millions.
Millions of peaches for free. Definitely top 3 worst song ever.
What is
There's
that?
a lot of bad ones.
Who is
Awful
that?
song.
It's terrible. Go ahead.
No, number 3 for me, Miami. Self-explanatory.
Mr. Worldwide. Yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Number
they have
2.
Pitbull Stadium. How
yeah,
could
you
it
hung
not
out
be?
Pitbull.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I wouldn't bread it then. Wouldn't bread it then. Number 2, Chicago was pretty cool.
Chicago's great.
Yeah, it was a very unique city.
Did
Number
you get
1.
Pequods?
No.
Wasted trip.
Number 1, Las Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. I mean, that's
Yeah,
a.
that's-
Oh,
he's
I'm the
over here
sicko.
dogging his
Okay.
own list.
He
I'm
goes
like,
over there.
golly, he just
I'm
had like the
sicko.
best
Okay,
list of
all
them
right.
all. Chicago in the summertime is best place.
See the
in
debauchery
America.
right there. Okay, but I'm the sicko.
Yeah, it's a good point.
No, I had $10 hands.
We expect it
We're
from
reasonable.
Damien.
We're reasonable.
Damien's 23.
I was 17 when I went.
To Vegas?
No, to Amsterdam.
Oh.
It's okay.
I say, what
I don't
do you
think they
do?
care.
What do you do?
Right. Are you
My
breathing?
dad and my girlfriend went there. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't, which I didn't want to.
See the architecture?
Well, that was nice.
I
Oh,
like
okay.
the
Got it.
culture.
I did it for the culture, though.
Hour number 2 underway. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Alex Page tweets in, I call Cubic sentiments on Pequod's Pizza. We were catching up on the Bear the other night. Was that last night? No, it wasn't last night. I was driving back from Gulf Shores last night, 2 nights ago. And the brother has to go work at this fancy restaurant, and he's like having this dream, and he brings this like appetizer of little small circles of Pequod. He's like, and now Chicago's finest appetizer, because it's like this 3-star Michelin restaurant, and it's little circles of Pequod's Pizza. And Catherine like freaked out. She's like, there it is. I'm like, I'm just telling you, it's the best pizza on earth. Believe me if you want. You don't have to.
Probably not going to.
I know you won't, because
he's been to Tuscany.
No, because I've had New York pizza, and you thought that was the best in Birmingham. So that's all I needed to know.
It was the second best on earth.
Yeah.
By the way, offer
it's
still
also
stands.
no longer in business.
Offer still
That's
stands.
how good it was.
And I have backers right now to buy the brand and the recipe. We'll do it. Just get in touch with me.
Me and my friends have been wanting to open a bar in Tuscaloosa for 20 years. So
why don't you do that?
Because it's not a good financial investment, nor is opening New York pizza.
I got people in the restaurant business in this town, some who sponsor on this station that are behind me that want to do it. We'll make it happen. We'll make it work. And I will gain 20 pounds in the first month.
Over.
30.
Done.
Probably.
That's about right.
Andy Burcham, the voice of the Auburn Tigers, joins us at this time each and every week thanks to our friends at Craneworks.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
The voice of the Auburn Tigers, Andy Burcham, on Mac and Cube in the morning is brought to you by Craneworks. Lifted, buy and rented, the big dog's got it. Now, Andy Burcham.
Andy, always great to visit with you on a Tuesday. Gutsy win. We had Coach Pearl on Friday. He gave almost no indication, not that he wasn't honest with us or anything. I think it sounded like Jay Billis and those guys thought it was going to be a game-time decision. Janai was going to go out there and see how it felt. Then he ends up playing. I don't think they win that game without him, but I was just most impressed that Auburn able to win a game in a different way, show a different style of basketball and pull one out. What were your thoughts coming away from that Tennessee game Saturday night?
We had Coach Pearl on Tiger Talk last Thursday night, and he talked, and he had mentioned that Janai, had gone through some workouts with the team, but not a lot on Thursday, that he practiced on Friday, and by the time we were getting to the shoot-around on Saturday, it became apparent that Janai was going to play. I thought the biggest surprise was that he played 33 minutes in the game. And there was only really one time that you could tell that ankle injury affected him, and it was a ball that went out of bounds close to where we are on the press table. You could tell that he did not have the speed to get to the sideline and save the ball. Beyond that, that was Janai. And I'm with you. Auburn doesn't win that game without Janai Broome, and also doesn't win that game without Miles Kelly or Chaney Johnson or a number of players. And it was not a good shooting game for either team. Auburn had 3 3-pointers, the first by Janai in the first half, the last 2 by Miles Kelly in the second half, including the game winner from the left corner in front of the Auburn bench with 30 seconds to go. Tennessee didn't have a 3-pointer in the first half, and then got 2 in the second half from Gainey and 2 from Chaz Lanier. And it was Zakai Ziegler that took the 3-point shot with about 4 seconds to go. Had it gone, and it was in the cylinder and rimmed out. Had it gone, it gives Tennessee the lead at that point. So it was an ugly basketball game. It was an incredibly physical basketball game. It was not the typical Auburn win. You're right, Cole. It was a very different way for Auburn to win a game, and Auburn wins a game in the 50s, which had not happened this season. But it's the kind of game that Auburn lost at Tennessee 2 years ago. That same kind of low-scoring, physical, rock fight type ball game. And I think you get that sometimes when you play Tennessee, because Tennessee is an extraordinary defensive team and the best team against the three-point shot in the Southeastern Conference. And, oh, by the way, Auburn's a good defensive team as well. It was a great atmosphere, though, regardless of the style of play. It was a great atmosphere all day long at Neville Arena, and Auburn comes out of that and remains undefeated in Southeastern Conference play, remains number one in both the polls, AP and the coaches poll, unanimous number one, and moved into the number one spot in the Ken Pom rating after last night's Duke win against North Carolina State. So get ready to go on the road for a pair of games now, guys.
What do you think of just kind of the way things are slowed down today? It was a remarkable win. It was a gutsy win. But did it lead to you having maybe some concerns about teams replicating that, I guess, defensive performance against Auburn and turning it into a rock fight and giving themselves a chance? Like, is there a lesson to be learned from the performance?
I don't think there's any question that teams will try to do that against Auburn. Perhaps that's the blueprint from what Tennessee can do, but there aren't many teams that can play that style of defense at that level as Tennessee. It's like playing Georgia in football. Well, you'd sure like to be able to play defense like that Georgia team, but not many teams can even pull off that kind of game plan. And I'm not sure there are that many teams in this league that can do that like Tennessee does. So yeah, but Bruce Pearl talked about it on the postgame show with us. I think he mentioned it with the media as well in his press conference after the game that, you know, the scout is out on Auburn. This is a way to get to Auburn. And it will be tougher for Auburn the rest of this year because teams will try to replicate what Tennessee did. And it was an off night shooting for both teams too. I mean, it wasn't just good defense by both teams. It just wasn't a real good shooting game by either of those teams. I mean, Zakai Ziegler doesn't have a three-pointer. All of his points came on the drive to the basket or the free throw line. Janai Broom had 1 3, but you know, most of his stuff, as he typically does, came on the inside. Another example is Sahad Pettiford, who scored 5 points in the game, did not have a three-point shot that fell, but at one point scored 5 straight points for Auburn by taking the ball to the basket. And as you mentioned, Greg, Auburn had to find a different way to win that basketball game, and it did. And I think that you know, you got to give credit to Auburn for doing that because that's not – I mean, this is an Auburn team that's still averaging 84 points a ball game, but scored 53 to win that game this past Saturday. And now gets ready for 2 tough games on the road at LSU tomorrow night and then Ole Miss Sunday or Saturday afternoon.
Visiting with Andy Burcham, voice of the Auburn Tigers on the Buyers Right Hotline. He joins us each and every week thanks to Craneworks. I think the role of Chaney Johnson has been a little bit unheralded since Janai Broom was injured. And I can recall, Andy, we talked to you about that first game. Like, physically, he's got to get it under control. Can't get in foul trouble early, specifically with the numbers. And I feel like he's done that. And he's become, I don't want to say he's added finesse, but he's been able to back off some of the physicality to stay out of trouble. How good has he been during Broom's absence and then now with a new role with Broom back in the lineup?
Auburn doesn't win those 2 games without Janai, without Chaney Johnson, because he's the one that stepped into the starting lineup for Auburn. And not only Chaney, but Dylan Cardwell as well, Cole, stayed out of the foul trouble. And it was a concern for both of those guys. They had the luxury of allowing Dylan Cardwell and Chaney Johnson to play physical when you have Janai Broom in the lineup. And Janai has, to this point, has done a really good job of playing his brand of basketball and yet staying out of foul trouble. Dylan and Chaney were the big physical defensive bruisers for Auburn. When Auburn lost Janai for those couple games, Chaney and Dylan had to change a little bit, especially on the defensive end, and did it in very, very well. Chaney Johnson is a much better basketball player this year than last year, regardless of his role. He's added anywhere to 10 to 15 to 20 pounds of muscle in the offseason working with Damon Davis, who's Auburn's strength and conditioning coach. I mean, he came in as a bigger, more physical basketball player than a year ago. And I think that gave him additional confidence. There were times I thought a year ago he played a little bit tentative. And it was his first year in Division I basketball, moving up from the Division II level. And we saw flashes, but we have seen him play like Chaney this year, really from the get-go. and he'll be the guy coming off the bench now for Auburn. He's still, averaging double figures and 5-6 rebounds a ball game, but it'll be now in a reserve role, coming in and spelling Janai and coming in and spelling Dylan in the game. Auburn's best basketball was with obviously Janai in the lineup and Chaney coming off the bench, and Auburn is back to that now, starting with tomorrow night at LSU.
Looking at that LSU team, they're just 1-5 in the SEC. Did give Alabama some fits last week, though. Is this a dangerous spot for Auburn coming off the physical game that was Saturday, bouncing back on the road and getting a win?
I think any game on the road in the Southeastern Conference this year, Greg, is a dangerous spot for any team. Look at Auburn's wins of late, regardless of they've been at home or on the road. They've come down to final possessions. Bruce Pearl mentioned on his postgame, Auburn easily could be 2-4 in the SEC as opposed to 6-0. And I was impressed with what LSU did at Alabama on Saturday. I mean, Auburn and Alabama are starting to pull away right now as the top two teams in the Southeastern Conference, and we still have those two matchups between Auburn and Alabama coming up next month, and then the final game of the regular season. I don't even what the atmosphere of those two games is going to be like in Tuscaloosa and in Auburn. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like right now.
Andy, I want to get
I was impressed with
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was impressed. I was impressed with LSU did on Saturday at Alabama. They're a team that doesn't shoot the three as well as many teams in the league, but Damian Collins and Corey Chess on the inside are a load for LSU, and they will be a very tough pair for Auburn to face tomorrow night.
I want to get your thoughts on something Jay Bill said yesterday, because you've called SEC tournaments. You know what that road is like. You've called NCAA tournaments, and I do think that the context was a little bit lost, because Jay went out of his way to say that the schedule is what would make it more difficult, being back to back to back to back potentially. But he said on our show yesterday, he thinks winning the SEC tournament is going to be more difficult than winning the national championship. And there are a lot of people that sort of laugh at that and point a finger and say he's biased, whatever. But when you think about how it's going to happen and potentially who it could happen against for whoever does do that, it's not a crazy thought. What would you say if I told you that I think the SEC tournament is going to be a more difficult run than winning the national title?
I understand what you and he especially are saying. And the Southeastern Conference tournament this year will be the eventual champion of that tournament. That's going to be something. And I think part of the reason is because this league is so good. It's the best it's ever been this year. Joe Lunardi is talking 12, maybe 13 teams from the Southeastern Conference to make it. And a decade ago, 3 teams from this league made it. And then Greg Sankey went to work on the non-conference schedules. And now we're to a point where this is clearly the best league in the country. So I can understand him saying that because the league is that good. Now, a year ago, guys, it was just the opposite. Auburn was pretty dominant in its 3 games in the SEC tournament and then lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament to Yale. And believe me, guys, that is a point of emphasis for this Auburn team right now. The SEC tournament is incredibly important to Auburn. But what happened in that first round of the NCAA tournament a year ago, I think drives this team more than anything else. That loss to Yale has stuck in the craw of the all-time winningest coach at Auburn and the rest of that team. And they were reminded of that quite a bit by that head coach. So, yeah, I can understand him saying that because I think the league is that good this year. And listen, we're, maybe a third of the way through the Southeastern Conference schedule? I mean, there are some big upsets coming around this league because it is so hard to go on the road and win in the SEC. And that first one for Auburn moving forward is tomorrow night at LSU. I guarantee you LSU is ready for the Auburn Tigers to come in there tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Andy, we always appreciate the time. We know each and every week you're brought to us by our friends at Craneworks.
come back to me after that. I've got a pizza recommendation for you. Okay.
Oh, of course.
Rental Works offers full-time or full line of rental equipment for any of your machinery needs. They offer operators for every type of equipment as well. They can supply the equipment you need, plus the man to do the job. Go to craneworks.com for a quote in Birmingham, Nashville, Mobile, and Huntsville.
All
All
right.
right. I'm kind of a thin and a crispy pizza guy.
Okay.
My sister lives in Springdale, Arkansas. There is a little Italian pizza place in Tawnytown, which is just outside Springdale and Fayetteville, called Guido's.
Okay.
Guido's.
The best thin crust pizza I've ever had.
Really?
Okay.
Yes. There is
Outside
also
of Springdale, Arkansas.
Outside of Springdale and Fayetteville, Arkansas. Yes.
Wow.
Tawnytown, tiny little community, Guido's Pizza.
Okay.
It's nothing fancy. It's just fabulous.
That's it. That's actually a catchy tagline there, Andy. You should send that to him and ask for credit. It's free pizza when you
And
go.
I'm not getting paid by them at all.
There you go.
But anytime I go there and I have a family meal. That's what I request.
Love it. Andy, we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We'll catch up next week. Thank you.
Guys, take care. Have a great day.
Andy Bertram joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline with us each and every week. Thanks to our friends at Craneworks. The best thin crust crispy pizza I have ever had would be the first good thin crust crispy pizza I've ever had.
Wow.
That's just me. I'm not mad at anybody else.
Wow.
That's just me.
All right.
I don't know why y'all like cardboard pizza, especially burnt cardboard pizza.
Because we're not soft. It's usually a good starting point.
I prefer my crust softer. Yes. Like it
Yes.
to be edible.
That's fine.
Don't need bark for pizza crust.
That's fine.
Sorry.
As long as you know you're soft. There's
John,
nothing wrong with that.
John, thin or thick pizza crust? How do I ask this question? What's the correct verbiage that I should use here?
How do you prefer the
I think
crust of
you-
your pizza, thick or thin?
Yeah.
I think you described it perfectly.
How do you like yours, thick or thin?
That works. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like probably right in the middle. I don't dislike
Can't
thick.
be right in the
I
middle.
mean, you don't want to edge it.
It's one or the other.
No, I don't.
Be
I
on
don't.
the edge. No.
I like my pizza a little bit crispier. So if you were to take a slightly thicker and make it crispier, we're cooking.
That's Pequods, by the way. They're just barely that crust is just barely caramelized on the outside, and it's legit. But it's not like breaking a piece of bark off a tree. It's not like I took a Amazon box and burnt it and then gave it to you with a blowtorch, which some of y'all like, including my wife, by the way. She thinks it's good.
My
Greg's
family-
fancy place over where he lives.
Yeah.
I literally asked him when last time we were there, how do you want your pizza? I said, not burnt. And the lady looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, just don't burn it. That's all I ask. Came back half burnt.
Place that I go to is also in Homewood now. It might be in Vestavia.
That place?
Yeah.
The
Might be.
fancy place. The snooty place.
Which one's this?
Who are you talking to? Yeah, of course it is.
Not Thicks. The other ones.
Davenport's is not. Oh,
Yeah.
Slim's. Yeah.
I didn't say. But y'all don't put that on me. I didn't say that.
Oh, it is fancy pizza. It is fancy. It is. I mean, what do you want me to say? Not. It's.
I
It is.
wasn't going to call them out on the air, but
Oh, well, dude. I mean, it's all pizza places. Like, there's no call out.
That's it.
Like, it's not for you. It's fine. New York Pizza. I'll call
For
them out
me.
on the air. They stink.
they do for closing.
Yes.
And not selling me your name and recipe. Also sting for that.
They also closed because usually direct correlation between.
I think it was a little more complicated than that.
Yeah, I bet it was. What was it? Money laundering.
Once again, that's Greg McElroy on the microphone, not me. So I don't
Hey.
make those accusations on the air.
They're no longer in business. I'm not sure what it matters.
Okay. Jamie Bailey says New York style pizza is the best.
Yeah.
Not burnt.
Which New York? Brooklyn? Which borough? Bronx?
Here he comes. He is an official Beastie Boy. Now, I play for
There
the
it
Jets.
is.
I know the difference in pizzas.
Oh, favorite song is Sabotage.
Yep. Brooklyn is different than regular. Just saying. Anybody got time for
Is
Brooklyn?
that why there's no sleep till there?
Yeah, that's exactly why.
What are the other boroughs?
Brooklyn.
What is Queen's pizza like?
Probably soggy.
I feel like I've had a Queen's Pizza. Isn't there a Queen's Pizza around? Like, maybe that's in Charlotte.
It is the Queen City.
I think
What's
I've
the
had.
Bronx pizza like?
Don't know.
Probably thick.
Probably a bunch of front runners.
Probably expensive. Overpaid.
Yeah. Front runners.
Too much upfront money.
Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of bandwagon.
Won't move to third base.
A lot of bandwagon fans in Bronx Pizza. I'm trying to think of
How do we ask the question? Thick or thin? How do you like your pizza? Is it that simple?
I think it's
Do
pretty
people know
simple.
Which crust
that
do you
means?
prefer? Thick
Which crust do you
thin
prefer? On
crust?
your
I honestly think that
Thick or
you're
thin?
making
That
it.
way no sickos out there get
I'm
confused.
just asking. Yeah.
Don't put 2 C's in there.
CC's Pizza is not an option, correct? Yes.
CC's Pizza used to rip
Yeah,
in the day.
no, that's all budgetary. Is all that is.
No, it was a great hangout post baseball. Like literally, you get done with the baseball game, you go over there and you fire a couple CC's Pizza. You get stuff all over your pants. It's no problem.
Dessert
No problem.
pizza is overrated though.
I agree.
But cherry pie pizza is not good.
No,
Just don't even do it.
if I'm gonna have pizza. I'm just gonna have
get
pizza.
more pepperoni. It's better for you. 800-239-9569. 800-239-WJOX. While we are off the rails, I would like to continue going there on the other side by something that has been brought to my attention that I feel like needs to be addressed. Now, listen, I'll fully admit I am not cool. I'm not hip. I am not in anymore.
Fooled me.
Maybe one day was. Possibly. Don't really even know. Don't care. But I got to ask the question about something that I've seen. And it's not that we're in the middle of flu season. Make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters. 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Trane.com. Would you wear these? I'll ask the question next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Why did you do this?
You said you wanted
I
to
thought we
hear
were
it.
going to have a fun segment here talking about jeans and pizza, and you do this. It's not a good song.
Correct.
People like it, though.
There are a lot worse songs. This is not on the
Yeah, I
bottom
Would Walk
three.
500 Miles is worse than this.
No, that one's not
It's
as
one
bad
of the
either.
worst songs of all time. Stop.
Ugh.
Why are you doing this? I just don't understand why you're doing this.
Pretty trash.
I got to ask the question if you guys would wear this. Are Jinko jeans back? Greg, did you own a pair of Jinko jeans?
I did not.
Somehow have trouble believing that.
That is 100% lock. I was never into the skateboarding thing. It was never my thing.
I am going to quote this from the Mac and Cube account right now. Would you wear these? Plain and simple. And the more surprising part of this is not that what the jeans look like and not that they are potentially back. I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But that they are made by Jordan Brand.
Oh, boy.
$120 for, quote, men's pants, which are jeans. And for those watching on YouTube, I will show them to you right there on the camera.
90s are so
You
back.
can see those.
You rock that in a starter jacket, you are cooking.
First off, there was the best comment that I saw that came after the original tweet from Nike was nobody wants the pair of jeans Jordan wore after his first championship, which I thought was a really good quote. by the
That's
way.
what Nike tweeted?
No, the first comment.
Oh, I was going to say Nike tweeted that? That's aggressive.
First off, they're stonewashed, which is also like that's like a double down here. And then I mean, these are past bell bottoms. These are like Allen Iverson plus Jinkos plus stonewash.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing here. Nobody's wearing these. Damian, you're younger. Folks aren't wearing these, are they?
I had
It's not a real thing.
Nah.
Yeah, but Nike's
I will
usually,
say that like this with the college age girls, this was like cool like
Right.
recently.
Oh, correct. Yes.
These like old school bell bottoms
Mom-looking
because like we
jeans,
would see
yes,
them on
yeah,
campus and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
Is this like the walk of shame and those are her boyfriend's jeans she's wearing home?
time
I don't
machine.
understand
Yeah,
it. But
everything
then
comes
it's like,
back around.
Yeah, they liked it. It was like the look. I don't. How? Who wants this? Why does Jordan Brand think this is a good idea? $120 to look like an idiot.
So we can cry again, I guess. I don't know.
You had to go there.
It's not a look I'd rock.
For LeBron's maybe, but
Nah.
This does look
It's got
like
Air
like,
Jordan on
like a
it.
LeBron draft night era
a bit.
pair
Yeah,
of jeans, maybe. Yes. This does bring back memories of when the All-Star game was good. Shootouts at night,
I'm not sure.
real
what-
slam dunk contests.
Yeah.
And
I'm not sure
I'm
what
not
the
talking about on
problem
the
is.
court, by the way.
No, no, no,
right.
no.
Yeah,
No.
I meant more in the clubs. Maybe that's it. We're trying to get back to when the All-Star game mattered. And these are the jeans that everybody
Would he
wore.
help if he wasn't tucking in the front part of his shirt like he was a 28-year-old socialite?
Yeah, I don't know if he got the button upgrade, so he needs to show off like the button right there at the top, but it's a tough look. I feel like when I go on Nike.com, some of the stuff that I see from an apparel standpoint, I'm like, nobody's buying that. So they'll take risks and then come back to earth. Like people are there to buy their normal, Air Maxes and
I feel like the risks though are usually at the show, and
No.
we'll see people walk the runway, and
see
it's
them
like, well,
online.
that's who's ever going to even purchase that? And they never actually list it for sale. These are right here on Nike's website, and this is not the Versace website, which no one goes to. This is a normal website that people go look for sneakers and athletic shorts and cleats and socks.
yeah.
Like you can get a plain pair of Nike socks, and then you can get these stonewashed Jinkos right next to it.
Yeah.
Like you can be midlife crisis 50-year-old buying Dunks, which you should never wear, or you can go buy these. Like what?
Hang on a
How
second.
is this happening?
Hang on a second. Don't you own Dunks?
Not a single pair, nor will I ever.
Stop.
Do not own a pair, nor will I. Sorry, I don't need to feel that young. Do I own Air Force Ones? Yes.
Okay,
Jordans?
what's the difference?
Yes. Air Maxes?
Tell me what the
Yes.
difference is between a Dunk and an Air
That's
Force
what the
One.
guys that have never owned sneakers are immediately going to now. I'm not going to get into it. You know it. I know it. Stop it.
First of all, I don't disagree with you.
I do like this Giannis Immortality 4 for just
Here we go.
$85 though.
Here we go. Why are you so down on Dunks when you can be an Air Force One supporter?
Big
Air Force
boy.
One, there's literally a song about them.
Big boy.
The
you
president
can't-
named his plane after him. That's how good they are.
So good.
You cannot rip on. I will
I
not
will.
allow you to rip on dunks
I just did.
while
I'll do it
owning a
again.
pair of Air Force Ones
2 pair.
and a
Give
pair
them
of
to
Air
me.
Monarchs.
Monarchs 10 times better than Air Force Ones because at least you're embracing your oldness. Dunks are, I think I'm 25, but I'm 55. Look how cool I am, and you're not cool. I don't care. I don't give a damn if anybody says I'm not listening to that show anymore because he says this. I ain't getting off this hill.
Well, you're speaking.
I'm going to
you're
die on it
speaking-
10. I'm going to use all 9 of my lives on this hill. Don't care.
I mean, these are just look how ugly. I just can't. Oh, gosh.
Not your cup of tea.
Just don't do it.
I
There's
mean,
no need
they're
for it.
just the ugliest shoes. Oh,
Don't do it. You don't have to do it. There's so many other sneakers you can get. They're not the only ones.
yeah. That's why I have like
It's just
6
the ones
pairs
that your
of Air
22-year-old
Maxes.
intern told you about so you can look cool. Don't do it.
Air Maxes are where it's at, dude. If you just don't get Air Maxes, like you're just missing out on life. I can't even rock the Jordans anymore. I think the next step are the Jordans. Like if you're still going Jordans and you're 40, it's a tough sell. Like I think Air Max is an appropriate. You're acknowledging that you're getting older, but you're not quite ready to give up yet. Once you go Monarchs, yes, you've given up.
Pre-midlife crisis.
Correct, 100%. Monarchs is just past midlife crisis. You've accepted
I don't think
midlife
there's anything
crisis
wrong
state.
with Jordans if you've had them though. Like if you're
No,
if they've been in your repertoire and
It's
you want to
time.
bring them out every now and
Let's see
then.
how Greg feels in 5 years.
I got rid of all my Jordans.
He told me he was off of Air Max like 6 months ago too, and now he's back.
He put the word
No,
out.
I was
He's
never
back
off
up?
Air Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was never off Air Max.
Never.
I will never be off Air Max. Now, I'm off certain variations of Air Max. Yes. Some of those have gone by the wayside. But some of the standard operating procedure Air Maxes, yeah, those aren't going anywhere.
Okay, if you say so. All right, we got to get to a break. Joseph Kaufman is going to talk Ohio State with us next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Tuesday, January 28th, 8:36 a.m. Joseph Kaufman covers Ohio State for the Dispatch. He joins us now on the Buyers Right hotline. Joseph, a little bit of surprise, but from some people yesterday about this deficit that the Ohio State athletics program ran this past fiscal year. I'm never surprised by this because I always think that most athletic departments' money is spent way before they get it. Was this surprising to you, or maybe what part of it should we be surprised about?
So this was not a surprise to us because Ross Bjork, the athletic director, forecast this a little bit last summer where he said that they expected to be at least $10 million in the red in the fiscal year that ended in June. And part of that was due to a scheduling quirk. Typically, Ohio State will have 7 home games. They played 6 in the 2023 football season, which counted toward the fiscal year. And that was a significant reason why they had a deficit. They had $16 million less in football ticket sales. And on top of that, you lose donations by people purchasing season tickets and all that sort of thing. But $38 million nearly, it was a little more than was originally projected. And part of that deficit, too, was their spending in football and bringing Chip Kelly from UCLA. Ultimately, I think Ohio State will take the trade-off and sort out their budget in this fiscal year and future years. They say they have enough money they project to bring in from this year to cover that hole and reserve funds. So ultimately, I think a trade-off that they will take at the end of the day.
Seems like a lot of programs are operating in the red right now because they're paying back loans that were taken out during COVID and things like that. So these last couple of years have been, I think, a bit of a struggle for several schools. But the impression that everybody's just making money hand over fist and these schools are making, quote, billions is clearly inaccurate. So when they do bring in the revenue split and they have to pay 20 plus million through the athletic department, how do you think that will affect the bottom line for the Buckeyes and all these schools?
I think they're always going to want to spend as much money as possible to keep up with the Joneses, even with the revenue sharing with players. You've seen with Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator, going to Penn State, that's going to be he's going to command a hefty sum at Penn State. So every school there's coaching salaries are going up. You're going to have the revenue sharing. I think the way they're going to have to figure it out is try to have the revenue piece of it to keep up with the spending, and they will get more money in the years to come due to the television agreements picking up. The college football playoff is going to bring in more money if they expand to 14 teams in the 26th season. That'll likely generate some more revenue. I think you're going to see schools like Ohio State explore jersey sponsorships or things of that nature, or more club and premium seating to bring in money. So that, I think, is going to be the way they primarily try to navigate their way out of this going forward, is to find new revenue streams to keep up with spending.
It's interesting with where we're headed and kind of what it was. And you wonder, is this going to be kind of that last run of teams that just are egregiously spending, which is how some would view it. But we know that that's just kind of also how it works. Some other changes happening with Ohio State right now is with Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator, being announced as Penn State's new DC. There was a lot online the last 3-4 days of what allegedly was said, 2 players, 2 other coaches in staff meetings. What information do you have as to how this best went down with the national champions losing their defensive coordinator to another Big Ten team?
It's a little bit of a puzzling situation because even on Sunday, in the hour or two before the report surfaced that he was going to leave for Penn State and become the defensive coordinator there, Ohio State was hoping and expecting to be able to keep him as their defensive coordinator. They were prepared to make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country. It remains to be seen if they would have crossed the $3 million threshold like Penn State did, but they were certainly trying to tap into as much resources as they could to keep him. And Ryan Day was projecting confidence that they would be able to keep him even after their championship celebration. And then an hour or so later, Jim Knowles is finalizing a deal to Penn State. And I'm not sure Ohio State had a ton of clarity at that point in the time from Knowles' camp about what he was ultimately going to decide. They felt they made a good offer, but he was still mulling his decision at that point in time. And I think ultimately people were at least a little surprised that he ultimately didn't opt to stay with the Buckeyes.
What does it mean for the next step? Who are they probably going to target? Do they go to the NFL? I mean, the timing now is so late. It'd be a little awkward, but clearly Ohio State's a destination program, and with the money they just paid Jim Knowles, I think a lot of people would probably be bending over backwards to try to get there. So where do you think this will probably lead as far as the future defensive coordinator is concerned?
The in-house candidate who would probably make sense would be McElroy, who's a safeties coach and a Jim Knowles protege. Spent 8 of his years in coaching, the last 13 years with Knowles on his staffs at either Ohio State or Duke, and was a coordinator, co-coordinator at Duke and Indiana. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Day looks to the NFL, because he's done that in previous coordinator searches with you have Chip Kelly. He brought in as the offensive coordinator last year, obviously had NFL experience, but even before that, Bill O'Brien had come from the NFL on the defensive side of the ball. Some of the coordinators he's hired in the past were Jeff Hafley, who he had worked with in the NFL, and then Kerry Combs, who had experience at Ohio State, but had been the Tennessee Titans CFB coach at the time. They brought him as the defensive coordinator. So he has liked in the past to have somebody who's sort of had a familiarity with some NFL schemes and some college schemes. So that would not surprise me in terms of the type of coach he's looked for. They've obviously made some big swings on coordinator hires in the past when they brought in Jim Knowles at the end of the 21 season. He was one of the hottest names on the market, had been a Broyles Award finalist, and was as coveted as any coordinator on the market. So you could try to see him make a similar type of swing, but they were doing that 3 years ago at the end of the season in December of 21. This is late January, almost February. So the timing of this is probably less than ideal, but they did go through this a year ago when Bill O'Brien left for Boston College after 3 weeks to take that head coaching job, and then were able to get Chip Kelly. It'll be an attractive opening. You get to Coach Caleb Downs, who might be the best defensive player in football next year. College level.
I think it's an easy discussion, an easy argument to make for Caleb Downs and what he's done. They might have the best player on offense and defense returning to that roster next year. Let's play hypotheticals, Joseph, because we've seen we've heard the comments, we've read the stories about what was happening with Ryan Day and his family towards the end of the season. If he did maybe go a step further than what you suggested could be a possibility, let's say he leaves for the NFL. Does Ross Bjork have a name in his pocket or in his drawer, do you believe, to name as the next Ohio State head football coach? Is there a collection of names that you think would be towards the top of that list? First of all, I don't think this happens, but just if it did, where does he even go for the next coach of the Buckeyes?
I mean, I guess if you're an athletic director, you always have to have a sense of what the market is and that sort of thing. He's just always been so adamant about having Ryan Day as the coach. Even after the Michigan game, he gave him a pretty enthusiastic statement of support and keeping Ryan Day even at the lowest point. The names that have always been sort of talked about in Ohio State circles would be like Mike Vrabel, but he's now coaching the New England Patriots, or Marcus Freeman or Luke Fickell, who have ties to Ohio State. But I think they are going to try to keep Ryan Day for the long haul. They're going to begin working on a contract extension for him sooner than later, and I think you'll likely see that his salary adjusted to be as highly paid as any coach in college football. So it's been quite a sea change in the last 2 months, where maybe at the end of November you were thinking about who could they go target if they move on from Ryan Day, to now Ryan Day getting a sizable contract extension and pay raise.
Well, we appreciate the time, Joseph. It's great having you on. Great talking some Ohio State, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
There you go. Joseph Kaufman covers Ohio State for the Dispatch, and it's something since that national championship, Greg, that I don't think we've even considered, but we have had more information come out. There have been more stories about the armed guard at Ryan Day's house, about his children being taken out of school, about literal death threats after the Michigan game. Is it an easy decision if he were to leave of who's next?
I think it's Chip Kelly.
I feel like the Luke Fickell thing's kind of faded a little bit. That seemed like a home run for a while, but I don't know if that's the one anymore.
And I don't think Marcus Freeman's leaving. So he's being paid $10 million a year.
And he's in a great spot.
He's locked in. So, I think the Fickell thing makes sense just because of comfort. But, yeah, I'm not sure that the way things have gone here these first couple of years at Wisconsin, I'm not sure the fans are going to be super fired up about it. But Chip Kelly would make some sense. I mean, promote from within. That's what you did with Ryan Day. A little different animal nowadays with.
Let me ask you a serious question on that, though. Does Chip want it?
Might not, but it's Ohio State.
I get it, but that would be my reservation if I were the Ohio State board, if I were the Ohio State boosters who have a say in that, if I was Ross Bjork, is that you came here because you specifically did not want to do that anymore. Now, then we could outline the resources available, the opportunities to recruit in different ways. We know the UCLA brand and the Ohio State brand in football are very different. We could, and obviously in other sports, you could have different conversations, but those are not the same. But that would be my biggest concern there is, do you want this responsibility?
Yeah.
Because you specifically left because you did not want that responsibility anymore.
And I think that's fair. And if that's why, if he doesn't want it because of that, then so be it. But it is Ohio State. It's a little different from that of what you would get normally at a UCLA, where you're really having to hustle to generate wealth for your players. You don't have to do that at Ohio State. Like, roll the ball out there and you got people that are willing to make donations and write checks. Yeah, it's just a different animal.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see.
You don't turn down Ohio State.
No. And just to clarify, we are not saying that we think this happens at all. But it was just intriguing that Joseph brought it up as to maybe somewhat of a possibility that it potentially could take place and Ryan Day could move on to the NFL. If he did, who would he call to move his stuff with him?
Crocker Moving Services, a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. And you can trust them in your home. Whether you need your whole home packed to move, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
So you say you don't turn down Ohio State, which I think under normal circumstances we would all agree with. But for the next potential candidate, let's just say it's not Luke Fickell. Let's just say it's not a former Buckeye, somebody who's going home, whatever that is. How much does what happened to Ryan Day maybe affect, like Marcus Freeman, for example, and he is a former Buckeye, but if you're trying to take him from Notre Dame, how much does now all of those things being public affect bringing in the next guy? How much does the next person look at that and say, yeah, I don't want to have to take my kids out of school.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to, have an armed guard at my house.
Yeah, but it's still Ohio State. I mean, dude, these guys.
It's got to have somewhat of an impact, though. You at least think about it.
I don't think that. I mean, yeah. Is there a type of guy that might not want it? Sure. But there's a lot of guys that would.
Of course.
So, I mean, it's the same situation. Like, people always say, well, why would you want to be the guy that follows the guy?
Well, $10 million a year be number one.
Well, that, and you know what?
Being able to coach football be number two. I mean, I'll take it. I'll probably be gone in 6 months, but I would try it.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why these guys are at the top of their craft, because they don't worry about, they're not scared. Like, and
as we've said before, they all think that their way is going to work. They all think they can get it right.
They're not wired like most normal people. Like, yeah, most normal people are fear of failure would overwhelm them. Not these guys. It's just they're not wired that way. It's different. It's very different. So it always kind of blows my mind how often people say things like, why would you want to be the guy that follows a guy? Well, because I'm a competitor and I'm not soft. Like, it's amazing to me how many people say stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe you have a fear of what's going to happen in retirement. We'll give you some added value here on Jocks. I'd like to introduce our friend and wealth advisor, Tad Hill, your trusted retirement planning partner. Tad co-hosts Retire and Freedom Radio and TV shows in Birmingham and Huntsville. Also designated by Forbes as the #1 financial securities professional in the state of Alabama multiple years running. Tad, what have you got for us today?
Thanks, Cole. What I want to do today is talk about the foundation of retirement planning, which is income planning. And what income planning boils down to is how are you going to replace the income that you need in retirement once your paychecks stop? First, we have to figure out exactly how much are you going to need from your savings and investments. We need to start with how much is going out the door, and then exactly what can you expect from sources of income like Social Security and pension. And then the conversation shifts to what are the strategies that you can employ to ensure that you don't run out of income in retirement. All of these are things that we cover in detail in our Retire with Freedom course that we teach in our office on Valleydale Road. If you would like to get signed up for that, text JOX, J-O-X, to 205-988-0006. That's 988-0006.
This is a paid placement. Investment advisory services are made available through AE Wealth Management. For more information about Forbes rankings, visit Forbes.com.
What's next for Alabama as far as the coaching staff, the roster? What should the expectation be for the Crimson Tide heading into 2025? Recruiting trail has been going well. I know that staff's been hitting the road, and not a lot of news coming out of the capstone right now, GMAC. We'll catch up with Kennington Lloyd-Smith on the other side, who, by the way, also has a great article out now on The Athletic comparing and contrasting teams like Alabama and Georgia as far as NIL and collectives and where they stand and how different they are at different places, because that's a lot of people's focal point with Ohio State, saying the reason they won the national championship is the $20 million roster. But it's interesting to see kind of what some of the differences are, Greg, and if that's going to change anytime moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very different nowadays, but I do believe that the reason why Ohio State won the national championship last year is not exclusively because they had a $20 million roster. You know what they had? A lot of guys that came back with a chip on their shoulder and collectively banded together to go win a championship. Like, too much focus is being paid to the amount of money that's being shelled out for these players. What the focus needs to be on is who are the teams that won the national championship the last few years? Ohio State, Michigan, and Georgia.
Yeah.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
What did those three teams have in common? A lot of guys that came back with a point to prove and an opportunity to go chase a championship himself. Like that. And guess what? Look at the teams that they played against.
And they didn't. None of those teams went all in on quarterback.
No. And look at the teams they went against. Notre Dame, ton of veterans coming back. The year before that, Michigan beat who? Washington. Ton of veterans coming back. Georgia beat TCU. Ton of veterans coming back. Like guys that come back and that are more mature are the teams that are best ones to chase a championship.
Well, they care and they know one another, and there's continuity and chemistry that's just built into that, which allows you to grow and do other things than just maybe your plain and simple blueprints that you put out each and every week. We'll talk Bama next. Before we get to Kennington Lloyd Smith, just complete sidebar. One of our monitors in studio at the Wilson Football Factory making footballs for the Super Bowl. The fact that footballs are still made by hand kind of makes me want to buy one right now. What's better than a new football? Like just out of the box, a new football. You get that odor. Yeah, it's a little slick. I know what you're going to say. Oh, it's slick. It slides off my hands. You can't throw spiral.
I didn't mind new football.
Get bigger hands is what I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
Like as a kid, getting a new football, like God, man, there wasn't much better than that.
There's just nothing. It was great to have, and then one of your dumb friends
throws it in the
would
pavement.
throw it an inaccurate throw, it'd land in the street, and it'd be scuffed forever.
You want to
so
talk
it's
about
like
fighting actions right there.
It's so true, though.
You scuff the brand new football.
Honestly, like we used to make our friends that couldn't throw, you were not allowed to throw the football. You had to walk it back
to the grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk it back. Don't, no.
Walk it back.
Come run the option, pitch it to me. You're not, you can't, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Can't make that 3-yard pitch.
New football, nothing better. Kennington Lloyd Smith covers Alabama. Not many better than him doing it. I want to start with this article you have up now at The Athletic. We'll link this to the Mac and Q Twitter feed so folks can go read it. A bit of comparisons between Alabama, Georgia, some other schools, NIL collectives, what they're doing, what they have, what they don't have. What did you uncover here, Kennington, as far as just maybe where Alabama is compared to some of the other major players in college football?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I think what I learned about Alabama through reporting the story is that they feel pretty strongly about where their NIL infrastructure is at. Obviously, losing Nick Saban and dealing with the aftermath of that, there was a strong call to action for fans to come and support the Yay Alabama collective, and they've done that, pretty impressively, I would say, over the last year. They have paying members in all 50 states, which was not the case when Saban was the coach. And there are data points that we can point to. They had the number 2 high school recruiting class at the signing period. Greg mentioned roster retention before, the last commercial break, and Alabama's done really well in that. This past cycle, they only had 3 juniors enter the NFL draft, and we expect those 3 are going to be high-round picks. The rest of them came back, and, they kind of supplemented some things in the portal as well. So they feel good about where they're at. They have plans to continue to build the collective out and do some different things to, entice fans to want to be a part of it. So they feel strongly about where it's at, which maybe most people might not expect given maybe the reputation that they had under Saban and the big money numbers that we're seeing from schools in the Big Ten and otherwise.
Looking at how this, I guess, staff has started to incorporate portal versus high school. We know high school is always going to carry so much more weight at Alabama than the portal, which I acknowledge. I think that's the best way to go about it if you can. So high school is clearly the number one priority, but they did dabble in the portal some. They went and got a bigger receiver in Horton. They went and got a couple offensive linemen that can help them get older. I think they're going to like the competition they have that's going to be taking place at guard with Vandemark coming in, who transferred from Michigan State last year. So looking at what they went after in the portal, it feels like they were very intentional to go after needs more so than going and get maybe the top tier 5-star, 4-star type of prospect. So how do you assess their portal performance?
Yeah, I think they did well in the portal. And I think there were, again, on the roster retention side, there were some things that happened that allowed them to be as selective as they were. I mean, guys like LT Overton and Tim Keenan and Jamarian Latham coming back, if a number of those guys leave, they're looking hard in the portal for a defensive lineman. I think Deontay Lawson coming back, Justin Jefferson getting another year of eligibility with the junior college ruling. And then they go and add Mikhail Hill-Green, who was an all Big 12 guy, to solidify that part of the room. So there were some things that kind of helped them out along the way. I think their portal approach was strong. Pretty much all the guys that they brought in have experience on some level, which is going to help a lot of those rooms out. Even adding somebody like a Cameron Calhoun who played at Utah, adding him to a cornerback room that played pretty well despite the youth, but needed to get a little older and needed a little bit more competition. So I liked what they did in this window. They're keeping the roster numbers, pretty low. They're going to have maybe 4 or 5 spots to play with going into the spring portal window, and then we'll see how much attrition they have after spring practice. So they're in a position to continue being aggressive in the spring portal window if they need to, but they did well supplementing around the margins given how well they did with retaining their roster.
Kennington Lloyd Smith writes for The Athletic, joining us down the Buyers Right Hotline, covers Alabama. What's the differential that you found to make it super ground level, elementary, in the difference of available funds between some of the major players? You referenced Notre Dame in the story, Ohio State in the story, obviously Georgia, Alabama, Texas a little bit. Is there this gigantic gap between either Texas, Ohio State, and everybody else, or Ohio State and everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on what you would consider as a really big number. So obviously, let's say Ohio State would set the bar there at $20 million. With our reporting, we found that Georgia spent about $1.1 million per month, which is about $13.2 million. So that's a $7 million difference. Notre Dame was in the ballpark of Georgia's number. So that's kind of where we're looking at in terms of the margins of, is that a significant gap? I think, to Greg's point earlier, Ohio State did go out and spend a lot because they retained a lot of guys who could have gone to the NFL, and they paid them, I guess, competitive money relative to their draft stock to what they would have gotten if they came out. Georgia wasn't really in that same position. They've lost a lot of guys in the NFL draft over the last few years. It's hard to replace that type of talent. This team wasn't as veteran. Alabama, obviously, lost a lot of guys in the transfer portal as well. So Notre Dame was in a position where they were a veteran team where they could, be aggressive. It's been a competitive number. So all of these teams are, I guess, relatively within, 5-6 million of each other. It really just kind of depends on what lines up for each school to be able to go all in their spending. I think the revenue sharing that is projected to come is not finalized yet. Is going to somewhat level the playing field in terms of it's going to give everybody a foundational ground level number to work with, and then what you do NIL-wise outside of that is going to be a really strong, arm in addition to that. So I think it's more so with the story looking ahead to what's going to happen into the future. Are we going to continue to see these rosters have this type of financial commitment? How is each school going to angle their NIL efforts to supplement that? And how does that work with Title IX and all the other things that are going to be in play with this coming under the university's head? So long answer, but I think that they're all relatively within the ballpark, but in certain years, other programs are just going to be more aggressive than others.
What do you think this staff will do as they continue to move forward as far as recruiting the state? I know there were a lot of pre-established relationships that were created prior to this year, so the staff was more comfortable going and maybe bringing guys in from California or from the West Coast or other places. But it does feel like at some point here in the future, they're going to need to kind of ingrain their culture into the state and bring guys in from the state that have an appreciation for playing at Alabama. So do you think that's a shift that is front of mind for this staff?
Yeah, I think it is. And in the early, contact period in January, they were on the road throughout the state visiting a lot of marquee players. And there's no question that in-state recruiting is a really big aspect of what people are going to look at with the 2026 class. The numbers were pretty jarring. I mean, this past cycle was the first time since the year 2000 that Alabama hasn't signed a single top 10 player in the state. Last 20 recruiting cycles, they've averaged half of the state's top 10 players. They didn't get any in this past cycle. Oregon got the number 1 player, Ohio State got a player, and Auburn got the other 8 players. So not a great showing in state, and it is going to be top of mind for Kalen DeBoer and the staff. Like I said, they've been out on the road heavily in Alabama. This month, they have a top 10 player committed. They're going to want to continue to build on that. So they did sign a great class, but obviously, you want to be able to have a presence in your own state. So in addition to where Alabama is going to be ranked next year in recruiting, what we're going to be looking at is how do they perform in state and how did they kind of continue to build those relationships from when they first started a year ago to where they are at the end of the 26 cycle.
Kennington, you mentioned staff, the changes that have taken place, maybe that will take place. How different do you anticipate this staff being by the time the season kicks off?
I don't think it'll be too much different. I mean, I think, at most there is one move, maybe 2. It just all kind of depends on what happens, I guess, with the NFL hiring cycle and where the program sees themselves after spring practice. So it seems fairly set right now. Obviously, the elephant in the room, no pun intended, is the Ryan Grubb situation. So there's going to have to be some maneuvering around to facilitate bringing him in on staff. I believe right now they have 11 full-time assistants, bringing up Jay Nunez to, officially special teams coordinator from an analyst. So pretty big staff right now as is. If there are any changes, I expect, maybe 1 or 2 more, but I don't think it's going to be significantly different now compared to when they kick off in August.
All right, Kennington, great stuff, man. Appreciate you taking the time. Great article up. We'll get that shared for you, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Yes, for sure. Thanks, y'all, for having me.
There you go. Kennington Lloyd-Smith joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. He covers Alabama for The Athletic. Do you anticipate many more major shifts inside of this Alabama staff?
I honestly think the Grubb situation is fluid. A lot of the conversations that I mean, they're out on the road recruiting right now and should be wrapping up here any moment. So I think that we'll see. It's going to be whether or not Grubb wants to work. He is still under contract. He has obviously been relieved of his duties as the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks, but is still being paid by Seattle. So I don't know what the offset language looks like. I don't know any of that stuff. So he might not have to work. He might not want to work. And he might not want to move his family for a short period of time in the event in which he stays in the NFL next year. So we'll see. I think those are all questions that need to be answered at this point.
All right. You can follow Kennington Lloyd Smith on Twitter at @SkinnyKenny_. I find his work at The Athletic. Always appreciate him taking some time to join us. He does a great job as usual. I want to get into a little bit more on athletic programs, their budgets, and maybe their value. We talk often about the value that comes with the branding of some of these schools. What do certain people think that the actual athletic departments are worth, plain and simple? The budgetary availability for many of these schools is going to help that. Obviously, the history going to help that. The fan bases that we talk about, the graduates, the people that want to pour money into it, all impacts it, all has an effect. We'll have that discussion on the other side with just what some of these athletic departments in their entirety are actually worth, or at least people think that they're worth. Before we do that, Greg, tell our listeners about Bromberg's.
Bromberg's great, and we know with Valentine's Day right around the corner, you're going to want to make sure you are prepared. You can go and get a brand new Vietri hibiscus glass vase. Those are beautiful. They are hand blown, mouth blown in Italy. So this fluted design was inspired by a hibiscus flower. They are in a rainbow of colors, a whole bunch of other stuff. It's really amazing to see all the different things that you can get taken care of when you go and shop at Bromberg. So go and get a gold-plated heart charm, too, to tie around your vase with a personalized engraved monogram, name, or special date for only $28. You can get free bouquet of fresh flowers to go in that vase on February 13th and 14th. So be prepared. The engraving will be offered February 13th at the Summit, February 14th at the Mountain Brook Village store. You can always check them out in those two locations, at Mountain Brook Village and the Summit.
All right, when we come back, what are collegiate athletic departments worth? We'll discuss it next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. What are athletic departments worth? What do you think if you just had to throw out a number? A couple $100 million, billion? What would you say? What would you think that some of these higher end athletic departments are even valued at?
Gosh, no telling.
Recently, College Football HQ, an article from James Parks, published by the Wall Street Journal, valued some college football programs. Most valuable programs, he gives you the top 10. Who are our obvious candidates here that we would throw in? If we were going to go
Ohio
10,
State.
I mean, can you get 10 out of the way just easily? I mean, yeah, it's Ohio State.
Ohio State's pretty easy.
One.
Michigan.
Michigan's going to be one. Bama's going
Texas.
to be one. Texas is going to be one.
Georgia.
Georgia is going to be one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5. We're halfway home.
I'd say Florida.
Florida.
Penn State.
Penn State. What about USC? Notre Dame. Notre Dame's definitely in there.
Notre Dame for sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more. Oklahoma. I'm just thinking more big branding.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would put Oregon there right now.
Probably not.
Yet.
No. I think Oklahoma, USC would be my next two.
USC, Oklahoma. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ohio State, Michigan, Bama, Texas, Georgia, Florida, Penn State would kind of be one of my question marks. Notre Dame, USC, Oklahoma. I mean, I would almost question my own USC. I do think historically they should be, but not 100% certain if the value would be there. So let's see where we go in the article according to James Parks. Number 10, Oklahoma. Value $881 million. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what the exact formula is. I don't know if the rocket scientists on Redstone and the Rubik's Cube helped with this.
A little financial PFF here.
Maybe.
Okay.
A little bit of that.
Financial PFF.
Yeah.
Love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's called fan recognition value. FaceTime television proponent value.
Mm-hmm.
Texas A&M number 9, $1.001 billion. Now listen.
Great stadium. That might factor
Awesome
in.
stadium, awesome environment, massive fan base. So there are different things that could be valued in different ways. But if you're just talking the historical value and worth and success of the team and the branding put next to others, I don't think they wouldn't have been in my top 10.
No. They wouldn't have. Probably not for me either. But you cannot deny the possible value.
Yeah, the backing
of what they are.
Right. How much it means to how many people. That usually helps your value, right?
I think so.
A lot of people want it.
Yeah.
A lot of people like it. Yeah, that helps. Number 8, Tennessee. $1.017 billion.
It's higher than I would have thought, but I'm not that surprised. I just don't. The thing about these is I just don't know what they're worth. Like, what separates Tennessee from Auburn, or Texas A&M from Florida? Like, what separates them? They all make the same amount of money for the most part,
right,
via their television revenue. Now,
yes, A&M selling that many more T-shirts than Alabama. I don't know.
I think A&M Stadium. I just think about their stadium, and there's more suites than you might have at Auburn. Like, Auburn Stadium is archaic. I know people will get mad about that, but it's the realities. They don't have high end.
With what's important now,
yes,
it's behind.
They don't have the high end luxury accommodations that would generate a ton of revenue.
That's why they redid the press box.
Correct.
And then why they're going to do the other end zone.
And I think they have a lot of plans to and move the press box to the end zone. Like, there's a lot of things that you can do. Alabama's been a bit on the cutting edge of that, so I would have thought Alabama would be a little higher. I don't know about Tennessee's suites. I don't know how many they have. But those
I would say, based on being there, Greg, I think Tennessee is further behind anybody else in the league from that perspective.
Yes, but that's the stuff that I think would make up the difference on a scale like this. Okay, ability to earn. And the way you earn is not by your general admission tickets. The way you earn is by luxury seating and accommodations. That's where you make money. And I don't know. I just don't know the infrastructure for a lot of these schools.
Number 7, Penn State, $1.027 billion.
Stadium is an erector set. Seriously. It is. Anyone that's been there, it is.
Well, they're working on it right now, right?
Yeah, they needed to. It was bad. I mean, it was.
Number 6, probably immediately when we went through our 10, was wondering where they were, would be LSU at $1.060 billion. Number 5, Notre Dame. Number 4, Georgia at $1.348 billion. I would love to see a case study with this done 7 years ago and today, where Georgia would have been Kirby Smart year 1 or 2 and where Georgia is now.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they have gone up, 15 spots?
Man,
20
no
spots?
No telling, but probably a lot. I mean, probably. Because they just felt like a little bit of a sleeping giant forever. I mean, forever. That never got close to what they could be. And I feel like Kirby has kind of accelerated that.
Now. There's
Right.
no doubt. Number 3, Michigan, $1.655 billion. It's a massive national brand. It is, benefited from being one of the teams that was chosen for national broadcast for decades. They've won national championships, Heisman Trophy winners. I mean, it makes sense. Number 2, Texas, $1.897 billion.
Yes.
I actually think that this is the most intriguing team on the list because, and as you have stated, there are a lot of different directions we can go as to how you come to this number. And you, myself, John, Haney, we might all sit in a room, and if we generate our list of, okay, what do you view as most important as it pertains to value of a team? We're probably all going to have winning towards the top.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But there are other things that are going to be more important to us. Like you just labeled all the things inside of a stadium. John may think that it's TV time, period. How often is your logo on television?
Yeah.
Like, is that NFL draft, or is it the guys on Monday Night Football saying, Westlake, Texas High School, Texas University, hook 'em? Like that could count. I mean, it's whatever. Some of it might just be fans, attendance, and fans spending on apparel on a regular basis, going to games, on gear, on the team. But a lot of us are going to have just overall wins and championships towards the top. They don't have a ton of those compared to Ohio State, compared to Georgia, compared to Michigan, compared to LSU. They don't.
No.
And even if you're just talking big wins in recent memory, not compared to Oklahoma, they don't. Oklahoma's been in the playoff. And the last 2 years, of course, Sark has, but I'm talking the last 20 years. Oklahoma's been in conference championship games.
A bunch.
In national championship game hunts late in seasons, more Heisman trophies. So even though we all just inherently know, Greg, that Texas is that, when you start to stack it up, I think it's one of the more intriguing slots of any of the teams. Like, we know it's big. It's Texas. Okay, cool. But when you look at the things that we really, really, really value, conference championships, big wins, competing for national championships, playoff runs, Heisman trophies, high draft picks.
Right.
They by far are behind the majority of these other schools, some by a landslide.
Yes. But it further proves that size isn't everything as it relates to the ability to translate value to wins. It's not everything. There's a reason why the New York Yankees and Los Angeles Dodgers don't win every World Series. There's a reason why the Mets don't win every World Series. Like, you cannot buy these things. So the sheer size and ability for the Texas Longhorns to create value is very different from that of creating a competitive product on an annual basis on the football field.
Very plainly stated, who's the most valuable team in the NFL?
The Dallas Cowboys.
Last time they won a playoff game.
I don't know about playoff game, but last time they won a Super Bowl was 95.
Yeah. And don't have a lot of playoff wins since then.
Correct. So
compared to Chiefs, Patriots.
But people have a hard time understanding that. That's why the value thing, while it's important, especially if private equity becomes part of the deal, I'll tell you why private equity, if they become part of the deal, guess what? These valuations, and everyone will have their own value. This is one guy. There might be 15 different other companies that could provide a different value of what you're actually worth. So let's just make it an even billion. So how many schools are over a billion? 10 or so, thereabouts, 9.
7, 8, 9.
Okay, so 9 are above a billion. You want to sell 20% of your college football program. All that this changes is that if you sell 20% at the valuation that this guy uses, and this is, like I said, just one guy, then you have $20 million or $200 million worth of cash to go to work. If Ohio State, who's valued at $2 billion, wants to sell 20%, well, they have $400 million to now go to work. That's a pretty significant difference, and you're giving up the same size of the piece of the pie. So that is something that I would maybe factor in there, and this is where it could actually matter. I would usually say these things don't matter. They don't matter. It doesn't lead to wins, doesn't lead to losses. It doesn't matter. But now that private equity might be getting into this world, it matters more now than ever before.
I mentioned last night speaking to the Gulf Shores Quarterback Club, and I was asked a very intriguing question about this that I want to follow up on with you when we come back on the other side. Also, a tweet coming in from Golden Domer on the difference between Georgia and Notre Dame and their value, and I want to have that discussion as well. But I definitely need to tell you about Game Day Men's Health. They value your health. They value how you feel. If you feel on edge, if you're not getting sleep, Game Day Men's Health can help you. It could be the effects of low testosterone. If you feel on edge, it could be the effects of low testosterone. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. Sign up for the free consultation. Go in. You're going to get a free testosterone test, a free PSA test on the house. It's absolutely free. The consultation and the 2 tests, and then they're going to know where you are. And they're going to give you a list of options that they can help you with and programs they can put you on, and they're just going to present those for you. You can save 10% on any of them by mentioning Cube when you walk in the front door. Cool locker room environment, no stress, not going to try to push you in anything, just want to give you the options of how they can help. Holistic approach to health and wellness at Game Day Men's Health. Weight loss programs also available. Book your free consultation at GameDayMen'sHealth.com today. What happens to the leadership if private equity does enter this space? Who is actually in charge? We'll discuss that next and get to Golden Domer's tweet on the difference between Georgia and Notre Dame next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. appropriate track back as Golden Domer tweets into the show. Does sometimes feel like the NWO is making an appearance when that happens.
No chance.
That would be Shane. Domer tweets in, anyone who believes Georgia is more valid than Notre Dame does not actually understand what makes universities valuable and true wealth. Notre Dame is private. This data is not full because Notre Dame does not share its revenue. Notre Dame could have easily put a list together of just how much money schools have brought in, but I don't think that's what this list is.
No. Notre Dame's extremely valuable. Nobody has ever argued against that, but I know that their television revenue is comparable to that of an ACC or a Big 12 school. Their television revenue is not comparable to, it's slightly north of ACC and Big 12, but it's not on the same level as SEC and Big 10. Their exclusive deal with NBC is actually, I think, a pretty fair deal for NBC.
Who does the world of commerce market to most when their interest is to make money?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
What group of humans is marketed to most on this planet? What demo, age-wise? Would you say probably
18 to 30?
Yeah.
5.
So if we went Family Feud and we surveyed 100 18 to 35-year-olds, which brand right this very second, right now, today, is more recognizable, Notre Dame or Georgia?
Georgia.
So therefore, I would feel like they probably are more valuable if that's the case. And I
think recency bias matters in that for sure.
There's no doubt. And that does not mean that Georgia is more successful historically over time than Notre Dame. But right now, they are the more marketable program. They just are. There's a reason that Georgia tweets out the graphics of 17 players on the Eagles roster going to the Super Bowl.
Simple.
It matters. The kids care about it. They like it. They want to know who's in the NFL from that school. It just is. Now, does Marcus Freeman have them creeping back up? Yes.
What about the Four Horsemen?
I hadn't seen the tape.
Well, it was Arn Anderson, Ric Flair. Kurt Hennig tried to, but he betrayed him.
I'll just throw this out there.
Got him.
Late in the football season, my 4-year-old is pretty adept at teams and helmets and things of that nature for his age, I feel like.
Yeah.
His brother helps him with that a lot. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Georgia comes on, he knows who it is. The Packers are playing, he thinks Georgia's playing. Grissom High School playing, he thinks Georgia's playing.
Watch out for Grissom.
In the playoffs, asked me multiple times, Daddy, who's that team on TV in the gold helmets? I'm not saying that all 4-year-olds should determine who's more valuable and who's not, but right this second, Georgia is the more recognizable brand. And that's because of, like Greg said, some recency bias, what's happened in the last 5 years, yes, and that can turn quickly.
Yes.
And Notre Dame has the ability to turn it more quickly than 99% of other programs.
Correct.
Look what Texas has done to their value, recognition, worth in the last 2 years. And they haven't even won a championship. But when we say Texas is back in this instance, they are, because the recognition, the value, the discussion around them is back. Maybe not the championships, but that part is back.
Yes.
And that drives value.
It does. I would also say, though, Vince became a fan of Notre Dame over the last month and a half.
Of course he
did. My 5-year-old. So doesn't mean it'll be that way forever. But Vince now, he wants to go to Alabama to play football and then go play basketball at Notre Dame. So these are things that are real. These are real conversations at our house.
Felt like we were going to take a lacrosse turn there for a second.
No. He's going to play basketball at Notre Dame and football at Alabama, or vice versa. Some days it's the other way around.
Tyler Buckner kind of did it. So I mean, it can be done.
It can be done. So
I mean, hell, by the time he's in school, you'll be able to portal in and out of programs 3 times in a season.
Let's hope.
And probably dress and play.
Let's hope.
By the way, also, no surprise here on this airwave that the Cubelic household is fans of the gritty, line of scrimmage, rugged teams, and the McElroy kids are the private school, uppity team fans.
Yeah.
No one's surprised by that at all.
So you like Georgia is what you're saying?
I'm saying my kids know who Georgia is, and they root for Georgia sometimes. Your kids are obviously rooting for the private schools. Are they Harvard fans too?
No, they like teams that win.
Penn?
They like teams that
I'm
win.
sure Penn has a fencing championship.
I think Vince
there
might have even
for
gotten
them.
like into a little bit of an altercation at school when Notre Dame beat Georgia. If you, not sure I want to go as far as to say it was a fight.
Kids, by the way.
I don't know if I want to go as far as to say it was a fight because I don't think that's exactly what it was, but I think it was a slight, moderate altercation. And a bush was involved where you might have been
Shoved into?
Yeah.
Stored in?
Not stored in. Yeah, I think a bush did, potentially get in the way of someone being shoved. But yeah, that's the way things go.
Appreciate the grit.
We play for keeps. Vince, in fairness, his 5 favorite schools are Alabama 1, Notre Dame.
T-Mobile?
I'm not kidding. No, he's got 5 favorite schools. We talk about it every day. Alabama 1, Notre Dame 2, Georgia 3, Texas 4, and then number 5 is a constant rotating cast of characters. But those are the top 4. Always. And number 5, sometimes he's like, we don't hate Auburn. Like, no, we don't hate Auburn, buddy. But he never adds Auburn as their top 5. He just acknowledges, and I appreciate this, he acknowledges that we don't hate them in our family. So, we got progress made there for you, bud. How you feel about that?
We can respect that.
Yeah. I don't know who his number 5 is, though. We gotta kind of nail that one down.
Wasn't his color purple?
Yeah, on their house, yeah.
TCU?
No. Vikings. Likes the Vikings. Yeah.
Who else we got purple? Is there another college team we could go to? ECU?
LSU.
ECU?
LSU.
LSU's in there.
ECU.
Yeah. K-State?
Kansas State rips.
Yeah. Okay. We're getting there. I feel like there's some others that we could find.
My kids don't like SMU like your kids.
My kids don't know what an SMU is. Sorry, Rhett.
Washington.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How did we forget that?
Oh, Greg's kids, Northwestern.
Who doesn't want to be a Husky?
No, not Northwestern. We don't acknowledge
Yeah,
that.
that's right up there.
Yeah.
Facility on the lake.
Clemson.
Yeah, kind
That's
of.
the other color.
Yeah.
Alternate.
Is that a purple or a dark blue?
No, it's a purple.
It's orange and
a
purple.
pretend
Yeah,
purple.
it's ugly ass purple. Yeah.
Not sure why,
Okay.
but it's a thing that somehow they made happen.
Wow.
So literally like Auburn adding green.
Well,
yeah.
It's a thing and it works now. And it actually doesn't look terrible. But it's like Alabama coming out with yellow
not quite.
in their uniform combination next week.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite. No.
The purple doesn't work with orange and white, but somehow they just fit it in there. They just jammed it right in.
Well, first of all, let's actually double check this.
Hey, Michigan,
purple?
what do you come? We're going to add scarlet next week.
Is it actually purple?
Oh, I'm sure it's some sort of trademark
I
color
bet you it's
that
blue.
is like indigo, blue wave, midnight.
Regalia is the name of the color.
Exactly.
Regalia.
There you go. That's all licensing and marketing. Just like Nike owned maize, so Michigan couldn't use maize anymore. Smart, by the way.
Regalia color.
How do you license a color?
I don't know. How do you license the word the like Ohio State did? I saw guys walking around.
Sue me.
I saw guys walking around all over Atlanta with just a hat that just said the. And then you had this dumb ones that are upside down where it's like the upside down.
Has to be
the upside down.
It has to be an arch though.
I'm sorry.
That's in Austin.
Someone's got to explain this to me. What is this upside down hat craze? I need to know what the deal is here.
It's cool.
In what way?
The way dunks are.
It does feel very.
Young people actually like the upside down.
It does feel very like.
They don't like dunks.
Young people like dunks.
I think they're moving out of it. I think they've moved on.
Well, perhaps. All I know is that the upside down letters on the hat, I ain't got time for it. Because if you do something upside down, that is quite literally disrespectful. When they do horns down, what is that?
Funny?
No, but that's disrespectful. It's supposed to. And now all of a sudden, it's like I'm wearing Texas upside down on my head. What?
Thumbs down's disrespectful.
Exactly. Like you see an Aggie fan wearing like a thumbs down hat. It's like, what?
By the way, why
It's
don't
opposite.
Texas fans do thumbs down at A&M? Wouldn't that work?
Should.
Because you can't thumb your nose and thumb down at the same time, I guess.
But it's like gig them the thumbs up. So you just why do Texas fans not? I feel like that would work.
It definitely would.
That would be acknowledging them.
Gig
They're not
that.
rivals.
I don't know.
The upside down word hats are really cool though.
No, they're not cool.
They get the people going.
They're not cool. You just think they're
They
cool.
make it hard to read.
Yeah.
They make you think.
The upside down almost killed Max.
It's true.
All right.
Upside down did get what's her face?
Barb.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't remember any of those names.
Yeah.
Are they doing another one of those?
Barb got. Yeah, it's like season 8 now.
Final one.
No, it's over.
I think it's this year.
Just admit it was good and it was done.
These kids are like out of college by now.
You don't have to keep
like
doing it.
8 when it
Probably
started.
the 90s now. It started in like 82.
No kidding.
You don't have to keep doing it.
Yep.
You don't. You just don't.
You know what you got to keep doing, though, if you go to Bill Smith? You're going to keep saving money. Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year. You'll know what I mean when you walk on the lot and you see all the different sales that are going on. You'd be hard-pressed to find something that wasn't at least $10,000 off the sticker. You go get yourself a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT 4x4 with the X31 off-road package. You can get that for under $55,000. That is $11,000 off the sticker price. It's deals like that keep people coming back. That's why 75% of their business is repeat customers, because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can go off I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
So we have pissed off all of pop culture today by taking out our frustrations with thin crust pizza, Nike Dunks, upside down logo hats, and Jinko jeans. We'll see who we can make mad next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 9:49, Tuesday, January 28th, Jocks 94.5. We will take a pause on beating up pop culture for the next segment and instead give you the bad box score of the day here in just a moment. First, I got to tell you about Gusty Goulas and the Gusty Goulas Group. You guys know, brokered by eXp Realty. If you're looking for a home in the Birmingham, Alabama area, you got to call 205-542-1996. Go to GustyGoulsGroup.com. Start packing today because they're going to be able to get you into a new home. Serve more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. They have helped members of my family. They can help members of your family. They can help you. You want to know what your home's worth? GustyGoulsGroup.com, button at the top of the page. Click that. Very little information. Find out right now. Gusty Goulas' aggressive and proven selling system has what it takes to get you into the home that you want. Or get top value for your home. Over 835-star Google reviews. Google them today. Gusty Goulas Group, 205-542-1996. Or go to GustyGoulasGroup.com. Bad box score of the day.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
Intentional grounding, offense number 7. It's a 10-yard penalty. I'm talking to America here, excuse me.
That's the game. Go to men's college basketball. The Southern
Jaguars
just snuck past the Mississippi Valley State
Delta
Devils.
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
This is not a sorority game.
Oh, okay. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Would have gone Kappa.
Why you so down on it?
63-42 last night.
That's disrespectful.
The Delta Devils go to 2-19, 0-8 in conference. For those 42 points that they scored in a real live men's basketball game, they were 15 of 45.
That's
for the game. They shot 13 threes.
How many did they make?
Okay, pleasant.
Only made 3 of them.
That's unpleasant. All right.
They were out-rebounded 28-37. Now, on the 30 misses that they had in the game, shooting 15 of 45, they did manage 8 offensive rebounds. Only turned it over 19 times.
That's it?
Okay.
There's your positive. Silver lining.
Only 19 turnovers in the game.
One positive part of the tape.
Exactly. Over on the women's side of things, we'll go to the Big Ten. The Purdue
Boilermakers.
They went down to the Illinois
Fighting Illini.
Yeah, Purdue goes to 7-13. They have not won a conference game.
Oh,
They're 0-9.
Not good.
That's all right.
74-38 last night.
Oh, that is not all right.
It happens.
They were outscored in the first half, 24-11 and 16-8. Purdue for the game shot 56 times.
Okay, all right, that's good. That's a good way to start.
They made 16.
It's a bad way to finish.
That's 28%.
Ouch.
They did shoot 21 threes.
And they made
pleasant.
Only 4.
Pathetic.
4 of those.
Not bad.
2 of 6 from the free throw line, though.
That's not good.
Free throw line.
That's a good. Actually, no.
Just to compare and contrast, Illinois shot 27 of 55, 8 of 19 from 3, 12 of 13 from the free throw line.
They were just hot. It happened.
That's what it was.
It happened.
Probably it.
And a better team.
And on those 40
better.
misses that Purdue had last night, 40-0, they did grab 9 offensive rebounds.
9
on 40.
I just left 31 out there.
40
That's okay.
Misses last night. 9 offensive rebounds. That was all they got. Just the 9. That was it. Also last night on the women's side, Southeast Louisiana, the Lady
Tigers.
No.
Panthers?
No.
Bears. Oh my.
Lions.
Oh.
They get to 16-3 on the season, 10-0 in conference, knocking off the Houston Christian. Greg, that's your state.
Not like I have any idea. Crusaders.
No.
No, they're the Bobcats.
No.
They're the Picklers.
Huskies.
Oh.
65-41. Houston Christian scored single digits in both quarters of the second half, 16-7, 13-7.
Oh, okay.
Houston Christian shot 42 times in the game. They made 15. That's 35% for the game. Now, they did hit 5 threes out of 14 shots.
Okay.
They only turned it over 21 times for the game.
Simple double digits.
Now, 15 of 42 would be how many misses on the game? I can't do that math in my head.
15 of 42?
Correct.
I don't know. Just over 30%.
No, how many misses did they have? They
27.
missed, what, 27
Yeah,
shots?
27. Yeah.
They got 2 offensive rebounds.
Uh-huh.
They just didn't want it bad enough.
2.
Gotta hustle.
One
person?
1, 2. 2. Actually, Tiffany Tullis had 1, and Aaron McGuire had 1.
Okay.
Each offensive boards in the game. They were out rebounded 58 to 21.
Yeah, they didn't
for the game.
Okay, they could have just stayed off the bus, stayed on the bus.
24-72 for Southeast Louisiana, which is not great. 5 of 16 from 3, again, not great. 12 of 14 from the free throw line. Just to compare there, the 2 offensive rebounds for Houston Christian, Southeast Louisiana had 24.
Offensive rebounds.
Offensive rebounds,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
58 for the game, but yes.
See what happens when you want it?
They did, and they got it. 65 to 41 last night in your bad box scores of the day. So that's it. That's all, John, for today. And turn the music off. We don't have any more. Those are your bad box scores of the day.
That's all you got.
Disrespect pop culture a little more. We got some time.
Yeah, what do you guys want to talk about? I was going to talk about this guy that escaped from prison in Alabama and was found at a Buc-ee's in Texas.
At least it's not a Buc-ee's in Leeds.
Serving a 16-year sentence. Pearson Anthony, 25 years old, found at a Buc-ee's in Texas. Now, I'll just say this.
You get out, you know you're going to Buc-ee's.
Probably not. Probably
Right,
not
like
going to go to the place that thousands of people go to every day.
Why?
I feel like just maybe fly a little more under the radar.
You can blend in.
I know the normal answer to this is, I'm going to Mexico. Not right now.
No.
Don't feel like that's the border you want to cross right now. Stay clear of that one. I don't know where do you? I just go to the woods. I think and just try to
just caveman it
Oh,
out.
here we go.
Greg can use the bathroom out there. It's fine.
Go Bear Grylls.
He
for the
doesn't.
rest of your life.
Here we go.
He didn't need electricity or running water.
Here we go. I just go to the woods. I'm gonna live off the land. Yeah, Cole Cubelic, Captain Homewood. Literally, my dunks will get dirty out there.
In the day,
Sneakerhead Cole Cubelic can go live in the woods. I have a better chance.
Where would you go?
I would have a better chance living in the woods and surviving off the land than you.
Where would you go if you escaped prison and did not want to be found?
The lake. Come get me. I got $250 on the back of that pontoon.
Okay.
It's also kind of surrounded.
What, the lake?
Yeah.
Yeah, by what?
Houses?
Trees.
Yeah, they'll never find me.
They won't
Never.
find you.
Okay.
I'll be ripping out there. I might even get a speedboat.
Water skiing, fugitive,
For sure.
surfing the wave behind the ski boat.
That's
We're back
it.
tomorrow. 3-man front is next.